What is up, internet and my folks on the YouTube and subscribers? What about that one, man? Listen, man. Oh my God, we're starting early. Why not AU jumps in with a super chat before I can hardly even log in? Amazing. Thank you very much for your support, sir. As is often the case, as is always the case, I should say. Man. So, I'm in the business of not counting teams out because that's just kind of how it works. And when you're a writer or a reporter, I was doing Game Thread today, and I was like, they're down 8 with, what is that? A minute, I've got it written down, a minute 36, they're down 8. And if they're doing the little graphics, how they do the expected win percentage for Auburn was probably, 5% or something like that? Good golly. And they actually come back. Javon hits a pair of just nuts threes, drives down the lane and gets that little teardrop shot in overtime. Like, damn, unbelievable. And I keep thinking these games can't get more entertaining. I mean, the Ole Miss game I thought was insanely fun to watch, although stressful. And then the Arkansas game, same thing, really stressful, but they pull it out. And then this one, I was like, they're not going to, because LSU all day long. Every time Auburn made like a push and got back in the game, LSU just smack them right down. It was like that old gif of the penguin that would walk by on the ice and he smacks his friend and he just goes right in the ice. It's just like that over and over and over again. You think about in the first half, LSU gets on a 15-0 run. Auburn comes back with an 11-0 run, and you're like, okay, here we go. And then LSU goes on a 10-0 run. And they just kept smacking them. But Alex says you sound sleepy, JG. JG's been sick. I don't know what I got. You guys who watch the show every time know I've been down a little bit the last couple shows, and then it got really bad Thursday morning. I was really sick. I took Thursday off and let the boys handle it, although I was working the phones because I knew that Al Pogue situation was coming down, and so I was trying to get to the bottom of that. And I also knew about the statues, but I just could not get that thing written. I knew they were doing the statues for Coach Dye and Coach Jordan. I didn't know about the other one, and I was really trying to get in a position where I could write that, and I just didn't get it. But things happen. So I haven't been feeling well, but I'm better today, and it's a sunny day out here in Central Alabama, so that's really big. Let's go ahead and take a look at that box score. Here's the stat that absolutely blows me away. So they have no D'Angelo today; he's out with the flu. And I think Samir was not feeling great. He had a terrific game. He was not feeling great, though. And I think some of the other guys, Salus, they were trying to tell you that I wasn't supposed to let that go. Like that was censored for YouTube. He says, my nipples are so hard after that game. Come twist them, JG. I'm going to pass on that one. Corny Mofo says, I have the bourbon virus. I haven't been drinking lately at all. Just haven't really felt the need. I did a whiskey tasting on, I think Wednesday night up at the Tipping Point for Clyde Mays, and I haven't had a drink, haven't had a drop since then. I haven't felt good. All right, so here's the number that blows me away. You can't see it on this sheet. All it shows is rebounding margin is plus 10 for Auburn. It was plus 16 in the second half, plus 16 for Auburn rebounding, and then plus 1 in overtime. And as you guys know, Auburn is not a towering team. And Austin was having his troubles today. I mean, he had a double-double, but he was 30 minutes for him is quite a bit out of a possible 45. I thought he was pretty weak at times, though, but then he strengthened as the game went on. But you don't really think of Auburn as being a team that out-rebounds folks by that kind of a margin. And LSU's not a particularly big team, but they have some bigger, stronger dudes. But, man, that was their key, I thought. They got no second-chance opportunities in the first half. It was one and done all day long in the first half, and they weren't shooting well. And then they get to the second half, and it's clear that BP and the guys were like, you're just going to have to rebound better. I mean, we are not an elite shooting team. We're not going to go out there and hit 8 straight threes like they have done, LSU. I think they hit 7 of 8 at one point. And we're just going to have to fight our way back because we're going to rebound and we're going to play hard. And that's exactly what they did. And I still didn't think it was going to be enough because LSU would make those mini runs and just kind of quell whatever uprising Auburn was putting together. But that last push with 8 minutes to go, with about 6 minutes to go. I think it was an 11-point lead. And then Auburn I thought, pushed it up a little bit more. And then the last 2 minutes was just, that's the stuff of legends, I think. I mentioned it earlier, but I want to mention it again. Huge shout out, starting off with Why Not AU. Our first super chatter of the day jumps in, Patrick D. Now we've got another one coming through from Brad Easterwood, who's often he's a big element on the bunker. You may know him better as Easterwood, who's a 3-time shout out recipient, I believe. Says, I can't even focus on the XFL because the brain drain has my heart. Bruce is my first love. Thank you for the super chat, Brad. Let's see. Hayes Wilson says, War Damn Eagle JG, this team never quits. WDE sitting in first. Absolutely. Auburn is to the top of the table now. Technically tied with LSU, but now that Auburn has the tiebreaker over LSU, I mean, you could say Auburn's right there at the top. We got super chats coming in from our friend Ruxpin, who is a superstar with our football shows. Always leads off with his drunken rants. But I think as we learned during the last time that Ruxpin came on, that I think that you actually kind of sharpened up in the middle of your call last time. And I was like, that guy's not that drunk, if he's even drunk. But anyway, Ruxpin, thank you so much for your support of the show. This isn't the first time for you. I know that, and I thank you very much for that. Guys, if you're a little bit late joining in, I do sound bad. Canoe Man says I sound horrid. I've just been sick, man. Like the last 3 days. I totally took Thursday off. Yesterday I was like 50% maybe. I feel better today, but I don't sound great, and I'm sorry for that. Let's see what else we got. We got another super chat coming in from Fat Crack. Always there for us. Thank you, Fat Crack, so much. War Eagle JG is what Fat Crack says. At the baseball field for tryouts. Oh, I love that. I used to love baseball. On this cold and windy day, man, our team just fights and fights. Bruce will have it all figured out come tourney time. Thanks again for all you do. No, thank you, Fat Crack. I appreciate you. Every single time we have a show, you're always here chatting, super chatting, supporting the show, and I appreciate you so much, man. Always there for us. I'll just call you BMAC. BMAC 34420 says super chat sends. Thanks, JG Tate. No, thank you, man. Always big on the bunker, and I feel like you were more involved in the football shows, but I'm glad you're here so much, man. Thank you. Let's see what else we got going on here. Lewis 3882 says, last time I was on here, the tips were going for $2 to $5. I come back after a month and y'all throwing escort money at Jay. Oh, man. It's picked up because we have such incredible super chatters that just support the show and support what we do at auburnsports.com. Like AU Taxman jumps in, who's always here for all the shows. And I always love the way AU Taxman can always engage on a variety of topics. We were talking bourbon last time, but we had a guy earlier who's mad about the bourbon talk. Anyway, love how mentally tough this team is what AU Taxman says. Absolutely, man. You got to wonder in the first half sometimes why they're not that tough in the first half, right? It seems like they just kind of wander, and then when things get really bad, they just kind of tighten up and galvanize and then play a lot better. And they played some outstanding basketball like the last, let's say, 3 minutes of the second half, and then the first 3.5 minutes of overtime were just insanely good. And I think I put it in the crawl down there. They were on like a 9-0 run. Like a 9-0 run coming out of the second half and into overtime. It was incredible. And I've got it on the crawl that they were plus 18 rebounding after halftime. So that's I took that right off the sheet, so I was just recollecting it wrong. Plus 17 in the second half and then plus 1 in overtime. It's incredible. Incredible for a team that was rebounding so poorly. Toe Ray says, what did we just watch? This is Auburn basketball, my man. This is kind of how they do it. They tend to get down to points where you're like, there's no way they're going to get out of that. And then they get out of it. Because that's what they do. Toe Ray says, uh-oh, Jay's got the Wuhan. It's not something to joke about, man. Coronavirus is serious business. But anyway. All right, taking a look at this box score. Samir was insane. Remember now, he was cold early. He heated up big time after halftime. We got a new super chat coming in. It looked like, no, I just missed it. I'm sorry. They changed up here at the top for me. Call Me Biscuit says, I need to trade chapstick for hand sanitizer. Why can't I do both? Salus says, talk like a pirate for me. It's one of my fantasies. Oh, man, I feel uncomfortable. Arr, matey. Climb aboard, Salus. Hope that helped you, man. Brad got a kick out of that too. Jazzy Joe, my man. I don't know if you guys saw the show last week. Not last week, last game. We got to see the new, I guess you call it the livery. The paint job on Jazzy Joe's rig was incredible. I posted it in the brain drain thread from last show, and he's got an Auburn themed rig. I believe it's a Peterbilt, if I recall correctly. And he's got so much. It's awesome if you haven't seen it. It's like super Auburn. He's got like numbers, like retired numbers up and down the side of, like Carlos Rogers and Frank Thomas was on there, Timmy Hudson, Bo Jackson. It's, of course, guys like that. Lutz was on there. This guy's riding for the brand. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Anyway, so thank you for the huge super chat there, Jazzy Joe, and for getting on the bunker, man. I know you were on the bunker before. You just weren't posting a lot, but I think your popularity is definitely curving upward. And I know you guys are going to say that's what she said. I know that's coming. So taking a look there, Samir was great after that. Kind of a rough first half, I thought. Javon was insane in the clutch, second half and overtime. And he finishes with 9 assists. I thought in the very beginning, I think the default setting on Javon's brain is like he's going to be a downhill driver. And he's pretty good at that when the other team's worried about other people. So like last year when it was Bryce and Jared and all that, Javon could do a little bit more one-on-one downhill driving. But now that he's a focal point of the offense, I feel like it's harder for him to get downhill. So once he gets doing that and then he realizes that's not going to work, I think BP just says, Javon, you've got to be a distributor. And then look what happened. He was getting into the lane, and he was kicking out to Cambridge, to Okoro, to Samir. It works. And LSU, I didn't think really ever stopped him from doing that. Auburn, we got some super chats coming through. I never want to miss these. Salu says, and I'm spent. hope that was enough for you, my man. Simple pleasures in life, right? Sparrow Empire is back again. Sparrow's definitely one of in our Hall of Fame. Thank you so much for your support. And it says incredibly gutsy win. This is Sparrow Empire. I wish we wouldn't pop so many early threes, especially Al, right? Al Flanagan's 3-point percentage has got to be 20% or lower, and he took too many. Continuing on Sparrow Empire's statement, I felt it kept us in a hole longer than necessary and made a miracle comeback necessary. Agree. I thought there's only a few guys, really, that are good three-point shooters on this team, and I don't understand why they continue to let Al shoot threes. In fact, I'm going to look this up. I want to see what his three-point percentage is because I don't want to talk bad about him if I'm totally off on this. But I checked not too long ago, and it was not good. I'm looking at Al Flanagan's three-point percentage. Oh, God, it's worse than I thought it was. So he came into that game. No, he's coming out of this game. He is a 4 of 28, so he's 14%. I will say this, though. I mean, he had an opportunity there early in the second half where he had an open shot, and instead of pulling it, he dished it. And I can't remember if it was Javon or Samir, but somebody hit a three, and he got an assist on that. That was a pretty smart thing. He was like, today's not my day shooting. I'm going to facilitate somebody else getting a shot. So good for him. We haven't really talked about it yet, but the fact that D'Angelo was out, we can kind of see they didn't change. We thought that Jalen Williams might play a little bit, but no, they just kind of shortened it down, the playing rotation down to 8 guys, and just leaned more on Al and Devin. Devin played a lot of minutes, 29 minutes for him. And another important part was that Austin was able to stay in the game. He picked up some dumb fouls in the first half, which he's prone to do, but in the second half and into overtime, he was defending without fouling, as Sonny likes to say. So 30 minutes for Austin, that's got to be a season high. Let me take a look at that. These are things that matter to me, guys. Minutes played, 30. Yeah, that's the highest this season. His previous high would have been 27 against Florida. He had 29 against Furman, but who cares? It wasn't a big deal. Then last year, he never really played that much. He had a 26-minute against John Morant and the Murray State Racers, but that's it. So that's a career high minutes for him. He's never played that many minutes in college in one game. It's incredible. And he was pretty good at the line, right? 6 of 9. Is that what I've got up there? 6 of 8. I know he missed the front end of a 1-and-1 there early in the second half, but I mean, people miss sometimes. All right, let's see what's going on here. Sorry, I've missed the chats. Scott the Pot says, sorry, man, I have to miss this. NASCAR is back. Woo. Are they doing the duels today? Is that what the deal is? Man, I used to love NASCAR. I don't watch it as much now, but I really, really liked it in the past. I loved Dale Jr. When I was at the Montgomery Advertiser, we covered Talladega every year, and it was one of the highlights of my career. Because covering NASCAR is just, there's nothing else like it. Ben B is back in the house. Says his defense was missed, talking about D'Angelo. D'Angelo's defense, I reckon, comes on and off. Sometimes he's really, really bad on defense, and other times he's just super engaged and grabs rebounds that you wouldn't expect him to get. And, thinking about the challenge that they faced today with LSU, knowing how pressure-packed that second half was, my guess is that D'Angelo would have risen to the challenge. But we won't ever know, and it's okay. That's kind of what it's like. He's just sick. He's not injured or anything. I think he'll be back for the next game. But now you have to worry a little bit about who's going to get it next, et cetera, et cetera. I promise you that I won't give him what I've got. I won't even get near enough to him to talk about that. I was talking about Talladega when I was at the Advertiser. I would get to cover the spring race. We also cover the fall race, but I was always ensconced in Auburn football. But I loved covering it because those guys were so accessible. If I wanted to talk to Junior, you just walk up to Junior's trailer and just knock on the door, and there's Junior. And it wouldn't necessarily work like that for Jimmy Johnson or some of the other big guys. Number 24, I forget his name. And Jeff Gordon, that's who I'm thinking of. I had lunch with Jeff Gordon one time, me and 3 other guys. I don't really know why. It was at the Olive Garden, maybe, in Birmingham. It was like a promotional thing with the racetrack. He was a pretty cool dude, man. Not going to lie about it. Guess those days are over. Anyway, thanks again for the super chat. Ben B, you're always here for us, dude. Thank you very much. Cleve says, how about that huge man shot block late in the game by Wiley? It was huge, dude. Yes. LSU was like, here it comes. And then boom. Let's see, Tiger Fan 89. This is a bold move right here. He says, I'll go ahead and take credit for the comeback and also the near collapse in overtime. Turned it off, down 8, and then turned it back on and saw we were up 6 in overtime. Then we weren't. I turned it back off. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. I understand if y'all had put it down because it was not looking good there for a while. There's no doubt about it. So I think rebounding was a big, big part of this game. Damn, Anthony goes over. No points for Anthony. And he goes -8. He's been playing decently the last couple games, too. I'm guessing LSU is just too fast in the block for him because LSU doesn't really, Trendon Watford is their de facto center, I guess, and you could even play him at 3 if you wanted to. He's just too fast for Mant, I think. And Jamal defensively was just not in this game. He can't help you defensively. Nick S., my man, Nick S., thank you for the super chat. No message, though, but I would love to sit down and knock back a few bourbons with you. I know you would appreciate that. I was at the tasting the other night. I know that's not one of yours, but the Clyde Mays. Yeah. So we did the Old Forester tasting like 2 or 3 months ago, and those Old Forester guys, they had like Old Forester little mugs, and they had Old Forester placemats, and they had all kinds of Old Forester stuff. And it was obvious these people did that for a living. And the Clyde Mays guys came, and it was just like some dudes in golf jackets and T-shirts. No, he wasn't in a T-shirt. He was in one guy was in a golf jacket. One was in like a button-down that he'd been wearing for 10 years. And they poured the bourbon out of like plastic cups. And I was like, what's up? It's just the differences, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure some of you all out there drink Clyde Mays and love it. By the way, I'm not going to drink today, I don't think, but our bourbon of the day is Four Roses Small Batch Select. This is delicious stuff. It surprises me, though, on the front it says Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey crafted from 6 unique bourbons. 6 bourbon blend. I tell you what, I can't just have it here and not drink it at all. Yeah, I hate that you missed that. No, really, we'll go to the next one, dude. He's fixing to do something in April. Maybe y'all can get in on that. He's going to do it's like a thing where he's going to teach people how to make old fashions. And they're going to need something to make that old-fashioned with, I reckon. Just saying. Or we can just drink beer. That's fine, too. Either way. Let's see what else is going on. David Pless says, David P., last name redacted. Great. Get way, way up against Bama, and then just the mean, straight, nasty fouls. I have a deep hatred for those clowns. Yeah, so let's take a look at that schedule, yo. I've got it updated here. Told y'all I would do it. So we got Alabama coming up on the 12th. That's going to be in the arena. So this is going to be at least potentially payback for that mess that occurred in Coleman. What's that now? 3 weeks ago? And Alabama's not playing good basketball right now. They had some guys out for a game 2 games ago. No, last game. And they're playing tonight or today. I forget who they're playing, though. We've got a couple more Super Chats coming in. Lewis, 3882, one of our great football brain drain posters. Haven't seen you much in basketball season. He says, that's good, man. He said, damn it, this was supposed to be 200. Oh, well. Thank you very much for the Super Chat, man. That's funny. Sparrow Empire again. Austin played 30 minutes today. Without it, we likely don't win. Agreed completely, because when he was not playing well or not playing a lot in the first half, I thought, man, this is a missed opportunity. Because he's so much bigger than these dudes. If it's him against Trent and Watford, I mean, he should be winning that. And he did in the second half. Any chance we see Bruce try to stretch him out toward 30 minutes per game, leading to March Madness? Well, this is an unusual game in that, he had overtime, so that's 5 extra minutes. I'm just let's go through this and eyeball it. I wish I could pull this up for you guys. I'm just not quick enough with my hands to do that. It looks to me, I'm just eyeballing it here. He averages about 20 minutes per game, something like that, maybe 21. And I mean, hell, that's a huge improvement over last year. He's had to really change how he defends people, because he just picks up fouls. I don't know why. Well, I know why. It's because he ends up guarding people that are a lot faster than him, and he doesn't move his feet fast enough, and then he has to lunge, and that's when he gets himself in trouble. They were trying to block that on YouTube, Patrick. Jackass. My granddad called it jackass. This is a great question right now. D-Zero says, why isn't it called Four Roses if it's 6 bourbons? That's a great question. They should call it that. Collins M coming through. I know you in real life. It says Corona sales have ceased in Tuscaloosa. Thank you for the super chat, Collins M. Yeah, I know you. I guess it's not set up to your bunker account, which is cool. I won't say who you are. Keep it a secret. Salu says, wow, JG just passed over your super chat. I'm sorry, dude. You're right. And I'm sorry about that. I'll take that one. Salu super chats me again, says, has Gus been fired yet? Oh, man. Liger started in one of those threads the other day about something. I don't know what he was doing. Something about Gus and this football team sucks or whatever. I was just like, dude, we got to stop that. The basketball team's 20-2, and let's get off the fucking. Sorry, I didn't mean to say a bad word. Let's get off the Gus thing. I mean, just for a little while, okay? Let's just have a little hole here between now and when spring practice starts on March 15th or whatever, where we don't have to complain about football. Just throwing out an idea. Solo asks a great question that we were talking about on the rundown the other day. How does this dirtbag Will Wade even have a job? He was on a wiretap coordinating payments to a prospect. I mean, I'm not an expert in law enforcement or even NCAA enforcement, but that seems just kind of on face value seems bad. Collins M comes back, says Bob Knight is back at IU. This is a big deal for those folks. I know there's people down here that don't know much about that, but Bob Knight got fired at IU. God, it's probably been 20 years ago. And, man, he was really upset. He was really, really mad, and he hasn't been back. He's been to Bloomington. He just hasn't been back to the basketball arena. And so him showing up today is a really big deal. And he made fun of me one time when I asked him a question. It's probably 96, 97 or something. I probably deserved it. I was so bummed. I was like, man, it happens. Canoe Man jumping in back. He says, on the bourbon tour and friends are yelling at me for not paying attention while drinking. We'll be in and out. Thanks for everything. Love the drain. Canoe Man's on the bourbon tour. Look at that. That's a lamp. We need to put a lamp up in front of that one. I hope you're in Louisville. If you're down in Bardstown, it gets a little, you You get to see Barton's and Willett and Heaven Hill. And you may get up to Four Roses in Lawrenceburg. Yeah. That's right, Lawrenceburg. Anyway, I need to drink this Four Roses. Yeah. Also, we have a super chat coming in from Rain8689. Thank you again. I know you were on the show the other night. Out of hard seltzer, only have bourbon left. Help. Got an idea for you. Just drink it straight. Hadn't drank in a little bit there. Hopefully that'll make my throat hurt a little bit better. I didn't actually drop the F-bomb, did I? I didn't actually drop that, did I? I think I stopped myself. John B says, when you hear JG drop the F-bomb, that's good Kentucky bourbon. This is my first drink I just had. I'm probably not going to have another one today. I don't feel up to it. Oh, TD, I wanted to give you credit for that, but I probably shouldn't read that one on the air. Canoe Man gives you credit for an Office Space reference. I love me some Office Space now. I always forget that Jennifer Aniston was in that movie. All right, so Auburn's got Alabama at home in what I would call it's going to be a kind of a reclamation game after the mess that Auburn laid in Coleman a couple weeks ago. Then they're at Missouri, which I don't think Missouri's a good team, but they play well sometimes. You have to keep an eye on them. And then at Georgia, same thing with Georgia. It's a bottom half SEC team, but you got to wonder a little bit. I bet Auburn's going to lose one of these coming up. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying they will not lose to Alabama, but Missouri and at Georgia, I bet they lose one of those. I just think when you play this tight in the first, the way that they always fall behind, eventually on the road that will catch you. I mean, I know they've dug out at Ole Miss, which is a troubled team. And they dug out at Arkansas, which is not really a troubled team. It's just Auburn's better than they are. And Auburn's better than these two teams as well. But I don't know. At some point when you go down 15 on the road, you're just going to lose. Salus, another super chat. Thank you very much. He says, just burp the worm in the mole hole while listening to the bunker. Hashtag Madelt. I don't know. I feel like some of that went over my head. Although Steel Panther has a lyric about burping the worm. I don't know. I guess that's just a euphemism for, eating gummy worms. I don't know. Let's see. Jordan F. says, why do we play LSU once but Kentucky twice? Cliffs on B-ball scheduling. Sure. So the way that I would explain that is that they don't do East-West in basketball. They do conference. And there's too many teams to play home and away the whole season. I think there's 18 conference games. So you just kind of have like this rotating, you play everybody once at least, and then there's like a rotating group that you play twice. You probably play half the teams, maybe a little bit more in the league twice. And then the other ones you just miss. So spread out a little differently in basketball. David P. says, at Kentucky and at Tennessee, do we drop one of these? Texas A&M is terrible, although Texas A&M occasionally will rise up and beat decent teams. The Aggies got straight crushed by South Carolina. Remember that South Carolina, you always have to think of them a little bit differently because they're playing a different type of basketball. They're like on another planet. Those guys are basically wrestlers who also in their spare time play some basketball and put the ball in the basket. They are so incredibly physical and rough and mean that a lot of these, I think of a lot of basketball players these days as being kind of finesse players. They want room to do their skill moves, and South Carolina will just punch you in the gut or knee you in the nuts or whatever. So some teams can handle that, some teams can't. It's almost like in horse racing, you have these horses that are mudders, and they love being out there in the slop, and then you put a really good horse that runs on sunny days, you put him in the slop, and he runs like crap. South Carolina is like that. So when I see somebody say, well, A&M sucks because they got crushed by South Carolina, that probably tells me more that just Texas A&M just wasn't up for the physical challenge. John B. says, I refuse to talk about football at this time. I think that's fair. I do want to talk about Al Pogue getting hired. That was a pretty big story yesterday. But we don't have to talk about it right now. We'll be out here we got to talk about Boobie. I forgot about that. AU88 brings it up. Boobie is not an SEC caliber running back. Interesting. I would agree with you, but not for the reason that you probably think I would. I would like to say. So Booby's out. I will just say this real quick. I know we're talking about basketball. Booby Whitlow elected to go into transfer portal. I think we reported that Tuesday-ish. Some corny mofo, you make me laugh. We reported that Tuesday-ish. So here's what happened with Booby. For whatever reason, and I don't know the backstory. I don't know if I need to know it. Over time, Booby, although a really good kid, has become less engaged in school, okay? He doesn't like going to class. And I think if you asked him, he would tell you that he signed with Auburn to play football. He didn't sign with Auburn to play school. Like, I think he's just one of those guys, okay? Loves the game. And I don't even know, I mean, I don't want to get into his background too much. I mean, he's from Lafayette, and scholastically, it's probably a challenge out there. You know what I mean? Alabama's not known for their great education, and you can get a great education in this state in public schools, but you kind of have to pay attention to where you are. And in Lafayette, maybe it's harder to get a great education out there. I would assume that that's the case. Not trying to rag on the people from Lafayette, the teachers out there, the educators out there that are fighting through all the time. But he's always kind of been, he's not big on going to class. So as the season wore down and we got into the time between the Iron Bowl and the bowl game, like he basically just shut it down. And then into January, not only was he shutting that part down, but we were told that he was either late or would miss workouts. So you just got a kid who should be a team leader who's basically truant all the time. And Gus, a lot of people had conversations with Booby about it, including Carnell and Gus. And here's the tricky thing about Gus. He gave Booby more chances than anybody. Because if you're Carnell, okay, he's screwing up or whatever, and you're going to give him a chance to get himself straight because you like Booby. He's your leading rusher the last 2 years, and he's a fighter. Now, is he a great tailback? I don't think so. Many of you probably don't think so either. But Carnell liked him and likes him and owes it to the kid to try to get him straight. Carnell gets to a point where he's like, I don't know, man. I don't think we can do this anymore. It's actually Gus that he gave him a little bit more rope than I probably would have myself. And finally it just got to a point where Gus couldn't do it either. And it was like, listen, man, if you want to come correct, we'll have you. But if it's going to be like this, you need to go. And Booby said, then I need to go. And that was that. And he put his name in the transfer portal. I don't know where he's going to go. I'm cheering for him because I like Booby. Booby is a good kid. He's a funny dude. I think he runs hard. I think he was a little short on talent to be in the SEC. I think there's a reason he was a 2-star, and it goes beyond just him being a quarterback in high school. We'll just see what happens. It's going to be tough. I mean, if he's going to go to, let's say, Georgia Southern, Chad Lunsford, former Auburn assistant who's now the head coach at Georgia Southern, is going to call Gus and say, hey, what's the story here? And, I mean, Gus is going to have a responsibility to say, we love Booby, and he wouldn't go to class, and he wouldn't make his appointments. And he ended up being a poor leader. That's the deal. So, anyway, without Booby, they're still fine, I think. I mean, Tank comes in. We think he's terrifically talented. Gives a home run threat. You still got Sean Shivers, also known as Worm. You've got Mark Anthony Richards coming back from a knee injury. He missed all of last year. He definitely would have played last year in some kind of a role. I think of him myself as more of a utility back. But then again, I thought of Carry On as a utility back until he was not a utility back anymore. And he's a terrific tailback. So I don't know what to do. Think about Mark Anthony. He's a really good receiver, I'll tell you that. And then you've got DJ, who is now 1 full year removed from being a full-time quarterback. He's had a full year to be a tailback now, and I think he's going to be better too. So they've got a lot of choices. And, of course, you guys know, I've told you a billion times, I never understood why Booby can fumble 3 times in a game and Gus still runs him out there. Gus says he hates turnovers, and then when Booby starts turning the ball over, he's like, well, that's fine, no big deal. Fumbled again in the Iron Bowl. He fumbled on the goal line at Mississippi State. Probably lost that game because of him. I don't know. Andrew B says, JGT, it's okay to admit you have a problem. I don't. I've just been sick, man. I've just been sick. I feel better now. I just sound awful. I've been coughing so much. All right, let's see. There's another one. Sorry, guys. Auburn 23. Bringing it there. It says, Booby was terrible. Dude had more fumbles than TDs. I don't know about that, but he did have a lot of fumbles, and I didn't feel like he was held accountable for them. Blake D says the title of this show is more fitting today than ever. That game drained my brain and so much more, but it feels so damn good. TD says, can we talk about the no tiebreaker in regular season, even if you have the same number of losses and beat them in head-to-head? I can't really speak on the specifics of that. I'm just saying. You start getting into that stuff, and it's just over my head, and I end up looking like a moron. Call Me Biscuit jumps in with a super chat while I was going on my rant about Boobie Whitlow. This is JGT quote, I am not drinking today, as he stares down a bottle of Four Roses. Congrats, you almost made it 20 minutes. Seriously, this is it, man. This is absolutely it. I will not drink anymore after this. Probably not. It's tasty. Oh, yeah. Tastes so good on your lips. Salus jumps in again. He says, 1, 2 Popeye's spicy chicken sandwiches from today's game. Hashtag high life. You living the dream, Salus. See, 10-0 JG. I bet Jalen Green liked this performance. Jalen Green seemed really impressed with the crowd at the game. At the Kentucky game, anyway, and the people chanting his name. Jalen Green, of course, is the top 10 player in the country. That's going to be choosing between Auburn and Memphis, it appears. Illinois thinks they're still in it. We'll see. Maybe that was something else. That might have been Broderick Jones. I just know it's coming down to BP and Anthony in that one. Not Anthony McLemore. I'm talking about Penny Hardaway. Solo Tiger agrees that those spicy chicken sandwiches are amazing. Torre says, I will not drink anymore. 45 minutes later, JG is going to be talking about how the Wuhan escaped from a lab and we're all going to die. I don't know where you guys are getting up these coronavirus jokes, but it's disrespectful, yo. Going back up a little bit, Matthew D says, Booby had no heart. See, I thought he had a lot of heart. I did. He just had a lot of fumbles, too. David P says, Booby's going to run into a school no matter where he goes except Bama. I bet he goes to some place where he can put up some gaudy numbers and tries to use that to sell himself as a late rounder. Yeah, I mean, I love these kids making lots of money. I hope Booby makes money. I really do. They work really hard, and I like to see them do that. Patrick D says Illinois seems to be on many top players list. Why? Well, they're playing better. They got the coach that I really, really liked. Who was it? Remember when Stephen F. Austin was good like 5 or 6 years ago? And they beat a good VCU team back when Shaka Smart was at VCU. Beat a VCU team in the tournament with this incredible play. Stephen F. Austin that year, this is probably 4 years ago now, was like 30-1 or something like that. I thought, who the hell gets Stephen F. Austin that far? And it was Brad Underwood. He's at Illinois now. He went to Oklahoma State, and I think he did okay, and then he got out because he had a chance to get out, and he just bounced. Keith M. says, geez, JG, you sound rough. I know, I've been sick, dude. I took off Thursday. About half took off yesterday, and I couldn't leave you guys hanging. I probably shouldn't be doing the show because, like you said, I sound like terrible, but I don't really feel bad. I just sound bad. So I'm going to continue doing it. Solo Tiger says, Stone Cold Stephen F. Austin. I've got one of my high school friends, and I went to a very small high school, so there's not many of us. Her daughter's playing sand volleyball at Stephen F. Austin. I'm fired up, man. I love it when kids get scholarships. She's going to get a full ride to go to Stephen F. Austin and play volleyball, like sand volleyball. So I'm going to actually watch some of those games and see her play. That's awesome. I'm really, really fired up. I had another schoolmate, and her daughter is now running track, running cross country, I guess, at Ole Miss. So that's really cool, too. I mean, our little ass school, we've got kids, going out and doing things like that. It's awesome. Hey, you tax man. This is a great question. This is one of the great questions of college basketball. I don't have an answer for it, but we can talk about it for a second. He says, Jay, how has a school with a tradition like Indiana not been able to put it together for the last 20 years? It's not even just the tradition, it's the money and it's the support. And everything there, at least when Bob Knight was there, was geared toward basketball. Now, he was a divisive element, particularly in his last 5 or 6 years when they weren't playing that well, but he was still being a total jerk. But let's see. I mean, since then they had Mike Davis, who was not very good. And then they had Tom Crean, who was pretty good. But then he got fired. I don't know. They just hadn't had like that great coach. And now they've got Archie Miller, who is, I'm starting to wonder if maybe if I overrated him a little bit. But you're literally swimming in players. I mean, it's kind of like LSU in football, where LSU is down there and they've got Louisiana has a lot of good football players, and they can kind of get toward Texas and snag a few, and they can get up into Arkansas and take some of their best players, and they can get over to Mississippi and Alabama and take a few. And then LSU, they have that run where they're like 8 wins every year, and you're like, why aren't they better? You just need someone to kind of organize it. And Joe Brady got that done, didn't he? Joe Brady now with the Panthers. Don't you think LSU is going to fall out next year? You lose the great quarterback. You lose the great offensive coordinator. You lose the defensive coordinator. You lose Queen, who I thought was really, really good. You lose Michael Divinity. I mean, they're still going to have Stingley, but it's just a lot. They're losing a whole lot. And they just paid Coach O a bunch of money, too. They're doubling down on that dude. I mean, you kind of have to, the way that Auburn doubled down on Chiz. He finally got you there. I mean, I know they'd won a title not too long ago, maybe 10 years ago or something like that. Anyway, sorry, guys, I'm ranting. We got a super chat coming through from Matthew D. He says, hey, JGT, thanks for what you do. No, thank you for what you do, for being part of the show and super chatting. Very much appreciated. David P. says, good. Oh, boy. David P. says, good bourbon reduces the awareness of head colds. Just turn it up. I'm going back in, guys. I said I wasn't drinking anymore, but David P., I mean, he says I basically have to, or else I'm ruining the show. I don't want to ruin the show. Still got my Eagle Rare from the other night sitting over here, too. Good bourbon reduces the awareness of head colds. I think there's a study on that somewhere. I would defer to you. You're the scientist. Get better. Love this podcast. All right. Thanks, David P. Also, Stu Pup comes in again. Stu Pup, my guy. Says, you sound so bad, I'm scared I'm going to catch coronavirus through the YouTube. Hope you don't get it, Stu Pup, but I don't think that's going to happen. I was talking to a coach on the phone yesterday, and he was like, damn, you sound like bad. You sound bad. And I was like, you can't catch it through the phone. Anyway, thank you, Stu Pup. You're always here for us, man. And another huge super chat coming through from Cleve C., who I found out the other night. You live near me. I didn't know that. My daughter, I think she was Snapchatting with your son or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's what was going on. He says, JGT, hoping our season and never give up spirit helps to bring several of these top basketball recruits to cross the finish line with BP. Wardam Eagle, and thanks for keeping the brain drain going. You bet, man. Thank you so much for jumping in, Cleve. You've been here so much for the shows these last, 2 months. And I appreciate the super chat so much. Yo. Let's see. 10-0 says this podcast is a lifesaver for long road trips. Cool, man. It's weird. I always think of it as like a live show, and I kind of focus on that, and I don't do as good a job as I should turning it into a podcast, actually extricating, is that the word? Extracting the audio and then putting it into podcast form. I usually do that on a Sunday morning, though. I always try to give you like a little welcome, like, hey, how are you guys doing? It's JG again. We're fixing to do this brain drain, yo. I don't know, little lead in or whatever. But I'm going to remember to do it. I'll do it for this one. For show. See, John B. says, best thing you have said, Coach O lost a lot. He sure has. They're in real trouble. I think they're going to be in real trouble next year, and watch them end up winning 10 games and beat Auburn's ass. And be like, I wasn't talking about that team. Oh, goodness. Let's see. I'll let that one go, CJ. YouTube was trying to block that. Y'all say like the softest cuss words and they like block it. Let's see. Solo Tiger says LSU and Alabama are ranked 126 and 127 in percent of offensive production returning, according to some made-up ESPN matrix. Usually those matrices, I don't know what the plural of that would be, are usually set up to make Bammer look good. Surprised to see one would make them look bad. Bradford says, I know Rupp is still the GOAT, but is the jungle the hardest place in the SEC to get a win? It sure seems that way now. Not necessarily because of the place, but because of the dudes that play in it, the coaches in there. So Barkley was saying after the show, I'll get to that in just a second. Ben B jumps in again, says, damn, that weird. She was super chatting my son, too. What? Oh, man. And maybe it was you, Ben. No, I'm pretty sure it was Cleve. D013, do a shot of 6 roses for me, JG. Oh, man, Deezer. You know what? I'm going to do that, man. You're one of our erstwhile super chatters, one of the great ones. I don't want to do this whole thing, though. Can I just drink it for you? Down it goes. That was a little more than I normally take. Oh, goodness. My taster's off, because I'm sick or whatever. So it tastes weird. Let's see. Matthew D says, JGT, I used to live in the Ville for 8 years. Knowing you grew up a Cardinal, I did in high school and before that. I'm so proud you're a Tiger now. I grew up in Auburn most of my childhood. Yeah, my dad's a Louisville graduate, and my mom, she was a librarian at University of Louisville when my dad was in medical school there. And so that's how they met. And my mom was, I guess at that point in her life, she was from St. Louis. My dad was from a small town in Kentucky called Lebanon, down toward where they make, in the same county where they make Maker's Mark. And they also make Yellowstone there now. Oh, we got some big hot super chats coming in. One from Sparrow Empire, who's always here for us, says, JG, you're definitely wise, but I'm starting to think you're a noble Sparrow. If we finish 27-4, do we get a number 1 seed? Well, I'd have to look that up. I don't personally pay enough attention to the net ratings. So I need to see where Auburn is in the net ratings. Because, like, this far out, I don't really pay attention. I just kind of follow the team in my head. How are they doing? How are they, where are they in the standings, et cetera, et cetera. Auburn is 17 in the net ratings right now. And if they went 27-4, let me pull up Auburn here on this. I'm going to figure out how to show you guys my web browser at some point in my life. There's got to be a way to do it. I just haven't figured it out yet. Ugh, hate that. So if Auburn, what'd you say, 27-4, which means they only lost 2 more games. Kent Palm's predicting them to go 26-5. Let's see, 21, 22, 23. So if they finish, they win out, they go 29-2. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'll lose 2. So that means they go 27-4, like you said. Then you go to the SEC tournament, and you probably play somebody like Arkansas in the second round because Auburn will probably get a bye. You play in Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, probably win that one. Then you're facing off against like a Kentucky or an Alabama in the third round, I guess. Maybe an upstart team like South Carolina, Florida. You never know. I still don't think that's a 1 seed, man. Honestly, Sparrow Empire. I mean, I'm looking at if you look at the net, so the number 1 team is San Diego State, and I just honestly don't think they're going to lose. Now, I'm kind of a San Diego State homer because when I was a kid, I was in San Diego, and that was like my backup school when I was going to college. So I really wanted to be there. So I kind of follow them. They're really good. I don't think they're going to lose. So I think they're going to end up getting a 1. Baylor's just been absolutely insane, and I'm happy for him because my man Davion's the point guard there. They've been really good. So your top 4 are San Diego State, Baylor, Gonzaga, Kansas. I'm not as worried about Kansas. Dayton has been going off this year, which surprises the hell out of me. Duke, to me, is probably a second-tier team. Louisville's second-tier team, in my opinion. Arizona. And then you get down to like Arizona. I mean, like for me, Auburn and Arizona are about the same. In Maryland, I think Auburn's better than Maryland. Auburn and West Virginia are about the same to me. Butler, I don't ever see Butler play. Michigan State, I think Auburn's better than Michigan State. Then you're getting down to Seton Hall, Florida State. Florida State's better than that. Florida State's 14 in the net. I think they're better than that. Nova, I haven't seen a whole lot of Nova. And then Ohio State, I saw Ohio State get run out of the gym by Kentucky. That's about all I needed to see. And they're ranked 16. Dude, Ohio State is ahead of Auburn in the net ratings. What the hell, man? What does that even mean? Ohio State's 15-7. And Auburn's 21-2. Get out of here, man. Yeah, I'm not worried about anybody below Auburn at this point. So number ones for me were being San Diego State, Baylor, Gonzaga, and then Duke or Louisville, probably, is what I think. So Auburn could get up to a 2. I just don't see a 1. And remember, man, they were doing all their damage last year as a 5. Doesn't really matter. You would prefer to probably get you want to get a top 4 in your region, though. So you don't have to, because that 5-11 game usually ends up being kind of hairy. And Auburn's was for sure last year. So anyway, Sparrow, great question, and we will revisit that as we move on down the road. It's kind of we need to get into that mode of starting to think about where Auburn would be seated, because we're starting to get a lot of data now as far as understanding what kind of team this is, what they can do. They're still a little tricky, though, because they have this tendency to get down big, and at some point you're like, they're not going to be able to come through. And then what? Then they're going to lose. And is that going to be against a crappy team like A&M, or is it going to be against a good team like, well, they're not playing Florida, Kentucky, or whatever. Still got to play in Rupp. Payne HJ, we'll give you the initials there. That OT dunk from Okoro was thunderous. That was filthy. That should be the highlight, I think, from this game, in my opinion. Like the Sports Center highlight. It was incredible. A huge momentum keeper, War Eagle. Thank you for your first super chat, Payne. Appreciate that. Yes, that was the like from the TV's perspective, that was left side of the screen going up on that bucket, and it was just a two-hander tomahawk, just flushky. And Isaac has some incredible hops. I was worried when he came up limp. I remember when he was grabbing his wrist after, I guess he was trying to make a strip there in the second half, and I was like, oh, damn. I guess he's okay. It'll probably be sore in the morning. TD says, wow, I had no idea you actually grew up a Cardinal. I did. I was a Louisville fan up until right about the time I went to college. I didn't know any better. I mean, my dad's a Louisville graduate. He got his MD from Louisville, and then he met my mom at Louisville, and so they always talk about, oh, Louisville. And that's where my grandparents lived. Well, one set of them lived in Louisville, the other in Lexington. And then I went to college in Lexington, and I switched right there. Although my wife grew up in Louisville, and she's a Louisville fan. She says she's not, but she is. And I've tried to pull her over to UK when I was going there because I don't want to go to Louisville games. I would go to UK games. And now she's like, her little line that she tells people is, I paid for his ass when he was in college because I went back to get a master's, and I paid for his ass when he was doing that. So I guess since I paid UK, I got to be a UK fan. Like, you're a Louisville fan. We all know what the truth. I know what time it is. I know my girl. Speaking of know your girl, I had I don't know if I talked about this on the show. I may have talked about it on the G Pits. My friend, my best friends that live in North Carolina, they have a son who's like 16 or 17, and I was trying to give him some like a de facto uncle. I feel like I'm a de facto uncle of his. I was trying to give him some advice on how to deal with women. I'm not necessarily an expert, although at a time in my life I was pretty good at it. And I told him the number one rule when it comes to dealing with women is you've got to know your girl. You have to know your girl, because I can't sit there and give you ironclad rules on what to do because it's different from girl to girl. So you've got to know your girl to then decide what you think needs to happen. You need to know if your girl likes for things to be bought for her. You need to know if your girl likes for acts of service, if that's a big thing for her. Some girls like to get hugged and they calm down. Some girls get hugged and they get angrier. You just got to know your girl, and that's good advice. For any of you young folks, any of you young guys, you got to take the time to get to know them. There's no rules that work for everybody, except pretty much all the time if you just acknowledge that you're wrong, it's okay. That's a good way out if you ever find yourself in trouble. You just say you're wrong and you're right, even if you don't necessarily believe it. All right, I'm moving on, guys. I'm not a licensed therapist. At least I'm not anymore. Let's see. Crush is making a reference to the Ron Jeremy. That is Andy Kennedy on the broadcast, the telecast, last in the middle week. You saw the fathead of Ron Burgundy referred to that as Ron Jeremy. And Sigmund Freud would have a day with that, wouldn't he? And Carl Jung. Corny mofo, my man. Corny. Coming through. Says, I hope Dave Ramsey starts letting me budget super chats. Oh, man. Thank you for that, Corny. That's a long distance one, too. I know where you're at. You're not anywhere near me. I thank you for that. I'm going to let the picture spin on here again. Oh, we'll take a look at Alabama's Ken Palm, because Auburn's got Alabama coming up, and you can see looks like they were playing all right out of that win against Auburn, but they've run into some trouble here lately. That game against Tennessee is the one where they were missing some players, and I think they've got somebody out for a while. I forget who it was. It's not John Petty. It's the other good player they've got. It's going to be out for a little while, so that may be part of it. I don't pay a lot of attention to Alabama basketball. It's just not really my thing. So we caught up on these super chats. I sure hope we are. Thank you, Corny. I appreciate you, bro. Andrew B says, JGT whipping out sage life advice. You guys know what I'm talking about, and Melee does too. You're right. You're absolutely right. Works every time. It doesn't work every time. It depends on how far into the hole you've gotten. Sometimes you've run through 5 stop signs, and that may not be enough in and of its own right. I'm 47. I've been married since, 22 years now. I usually get through the first stop sign, and if I run that one, I know I don't need to be running a second one, and I don't ever get into a spot where that won't work. But some of these young kids do, and I'm telling you, if you're young out there and you're either trying to woo a girl or you're trying to stay married and all that stuff, you just gotta, if you're running a stop sign, you need to not run more than one, because once you run 2, it's harder to get out of it. Leave it at that. This is coming from a guy who was gonna be a counselor. That's why I went to UK. Should I drink another sip of Four Roses? I said I wasn't drinking. I'm drinking out. I'm not drinking anymore. Deezer says Herb Jones. Herbert Jones is exactly the right guy. Thank you. Herb Jones is the Bammer who's out. He broke his wrist. So that hurts them a lot. And I think the fact that they beat Auburn so bad means Auburn's going to be thirsty. Like good thirsty for this game coming up. David Pless says they have a 28% chance against us, higher than I would think. Yeah, that's what so they've got on here for Ken Palm. And they got Georgia away. Wow. I'm surprised they would be considered a favorite at Georgia away the way they're playing right now. And then 56% at home against LSU seems kind of high too. Shower says, I just tuned in. What's he talking about with running stop signs? I was talking about figurative stop signs when you're in a relationship. And I was speaking as a guy talking about girls. Sometimes, when you're having disagreements or you're just doing things that maybe you shouldn't do. I'm not talking about really bad things, just little things. Maybe she told you not to buy any more video games and you bought one. That's running a stop sign. You don't want to run a whole bunch in a row. That's all. TD says you're a counselor now. How do you enjoy it? I was going to UK to get a master's degree in counseling, and I kind of got sidetracked because I started writing sports for the student paper, and I started liking that more than counseling. Patrick D says we need to physically harm them. Wait, Salus, now that's a mean thing to say to me. Stop being a bammer and drink something good, JG. Bookers or bust. Listen here, brother. This Four Roses small batch select is no crappy bourbon. This is delicious bourbon. And while Booker's is delicious, I will agree. Don't you be giving me that. Don't you be a bourbon snob up in here. If I want to drink Old Granddad or Evan Williams, I will. And I'm not going to deal with your consternation. I don't need your judgment. So there. Get you some of that. Biscuit telling the truth right here. He says, counselor same as a bunker mod. Dude, I was having to do that today. The dude that I don't want to say names, but I think some of you who are on there enough will know who I'm talking about. The dude that posted the thread about the cryptocurrency, and then he posted a thread like, if you guys want to get into it, like basically click here and I'll get a cut and you'll get a free 10%. Something like that. I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. But anyway, I was like, nope, cutting that down for me. We're going to move that to the open board. And like, had to like talk him through it. Like, why'd you take my thread down? Well, because this isn't a marketplace. Well, this guy did it before and this guy did it before. So how, and I'm just like, look, it's not a court of law. Okay. Like, there's no appeals process. Like, I don't know who you are. I don't like what you're posting, and I took it down. Like, I'm not coming to your house to smack you around or anything. Like, I just moved your thread, and that's that. And I just keep getting these kinds of, oh, God, I wish I could show you guys. I don't want to do that to him. But he's sending me, like, 6-paragraph retorts in the middle of this game. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to, I don't want to go through your brief. Your case briefing or whatever. I don't know. Salu says, I live in Tennessee. I can get all the bourbons. I hope that, don't you dare you call it bourbon if it's that Tennessee swill. I hope you're not drinking that Tennessee swill. That ain't bourbon. That's Tennessee swill. That's different stuff. I know that there's some Kentucky stuff that infiltrates the state of Tennessee. I'm sorry for that. Sorry for you. Sorry for the people that in Kentucky that should be drinking it, not you Tennessee people. But anyway, I love you, Salus. Arr. Solo Tiger says you will not besmirch his bourbon. Please don't. And I don't know why you would, because Four Roses is delicious, and we all agree on that. Everyone in this chat agrees that Four Roses is good stuff, and don't sit there and tell me that. I'm going to pull my Eagle Rare out. Melee says Evan Williams Bottle and Bond is fine daily. Absolutely. In the single barrel, it sounds like it's really good, but it's actually like $25 at the ABC store. It's delicious, too. It's good bourbon. It's really good bourbon. Let's see. John B. says, I've been talking to people. I wonder who. And I'm thinking JG can be a keynote speaker at our Lake Lanier Auburn Club event. I don't know as though I'd be a good speaker. I did a speaking engagement. Me and Jay Lee did one in Selma like 2 years ago. And I think we bombed. I thought we did well, but I think we bombed because they didn't ask us back, which is fine. You know how I am. Like, I get on this camera and we talk and we're chatting and going back and forth. But I don't know if I'd be really good up there telling like the little jokes that people tell from the like you talk to a coach and they put him up on a podium. They've got like their 3 little jokes that they tell. Kevin talks about, I don't know, something about his dock at his house down in South Carolina, or Gus tells a joke about some chili pup that he ate, Christy, or some sweater puppy thingy. I don't know. There's just jokes. There's jokes. And I don't know if I'm a big joker like that. Patrick Johnson says, I've never had Four Roses. What are you talking about? Why? You should have that. If you can find it. I don't know where you're at. Keith M says weekly share sessions are next. Canoe Man also putting out the idea of a weekly counseling thread, adding more value to the bunk. Jackson Garrett says, so there was a basketball game today. Well, so we're an hour and 5 minutes into the show. We've talked a bunch about the basketball game, but I'm glad to talk about it more. I'll love me some basketball now. Let me get that back up here. Let's get Alabama Ken Palm down. Final box up. There we go. So Skylar Mays was a bad man today, was he not? 30 points, 10 of 10 at the line. Good golly. 30 points in 42 minutes. That's a real man right there. I mean, I knew he was playing great. And he's just one of those dudes, like, he's not necessarily super quick, but he's standing out there 3 feet behind the line, and you don't know if he's going to drive or he's just going to pull right there. And he's just so calm doing it. He had a hell of a game. That's the second straight game, right, where Auburn had one dude just absolutely whoop him. That dude against that Arkansas guy had 40 the other night, I think, didn't he? The numbers get away from me a little bit. And then Trenton Wofford was running his mouth. Did you see them? He had a bucket against Ant in the second half, and he starts doing the whole shush thing to Anthony. I'm like, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't get them going. Not blaming anything on him. I'm just saying. So huge game from Samir. Huge game. Javon, I thought to me was the player of the game, even though Samir had more points. I wonder who the official Ken Palm MVP was of that game. Let's take a look here. The official Ken Palm MVP was Skylar Mays, which is a fair call. The highest offensive rating on the Auburn team was Devin Cambridge with a 173 offensive rating, which is insane, which is actually higher, significantly higher than Skylar Mays, but I still think Skylar Mays was better. Let's see, Samir, they gave 128 score and then 136 score to Javon, which is they're all ridiculous. And then see Austin. Here's the thing about Austin. So they gave him a 132, which is a great offensive rating in Ken Palm. And you look at his numbers, and it's like, you know, what he had 4 points. No, I'm sorry, 10 points on 2 of 4 shooting. So 6 of his 10 points are at the line. 13 boards is great. 30 minutes played is great. But once again, you can't really use him as an offensive attack because he's really not, right? Like he's got this thing about, first of all, his catch radius is this big. Second of all, he's got this thing about when he gets the ball and he's approaching the net, he goes low. He did it a bunch today. Like he does this a lot when he gets an offensive rebound, and all he's got to do, he's tall as hell, get the ball, put it back up. But he gets the ball and he comes down, and then they start smacking at it. And they either knock it down, or he loses out of bounds, or he goes up and sometimes he gets fouled, or he goes up and it's a held ball like it was in the Arkansas game. Don't go down with it. You know they've been telling him that 100,000 times, and he just can't stop. MC correctly noting that I'm a little bit of a hypocrite by saying, quote, don't be a bourbon snob, and then Tennessee swill is not bourbon. But that's if it's not bourbon, then I'm not being a snob. It's just Tennessee swill. That's all. Jackson G says, got to play Cambridge more. He hits just as many threes or more than Purifoy. Both have defensive lapses, but Cambridge has room to grow, and we need him next year. I don't know. Both of those guys have some big holes in their game. Dangel's certainly more experienced, and I think that's why they play him more. And then I think when he's at his best, he's a better defensive player. Cambridge at his best is more of a disruptor in the full court. He's more of a transition disruptor when it comes to his defensive ability, and then spot-up shooting is really what he does on the other end. If there's anything that he will be better at, I think he'd probably be a better like off-the-bench sharpshooter versus Jamal. Even though Jamal's shooting like 40% or something from three, when Cambridge gets rolling, dude, he can't be stopped. We got some super chats coming through. I don't know why they redacted your message earlier, Chazzy. I'm sorry, but Chazzy D's got one. Says that block by Wiley, though, that was absolutely nasty. He's usually good for one of those a game, but today's was really, really mean and unseemly for the LSU Tigers. DFY jumps in, says, I ran in the Bourbon Chase a few years ago with my Kentucky buddies. Knees went out on me. I had to limp through my last leg at Woodford. Haven't ran since. By the way, do you know the George family from Lebanon? I don't know right off. No. I have to say that although my dad was from there and my family were the Lees down there, I haven't really been to Lebanon, haven't been involved with Lebanon more than just visiting it. I had some friends down there that I met from college that just happened to be from Lebanon, but I don't know a lot about what's going on there now. I have been to Ham Days, though. That's a big deal down there. Call me Biscuit. First, thank you, DFY. I hope your knees get better, bro. Although I'm not a big runner myself. Part of it is because, well, I'm fat. And second of all, because I have the shortest legs in the history of the world. Call me Biscuit jumps in. Thank you again for another super chat, bro. Says Sonny's call 911. We're going to need an ambulance the way they are letting them play on Mays'. And then on Mays' free throw, he has not missed since 1941. Any others, I was late. Yeah, he said something about how Mays was like 500 pounds. You just couldn't move him. And Andy was like, oh, really? I also put one on Twitter where it was something in the first half where I think Sonny was misremembering lyrics to an old song, and Andy was just like, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. Oh, man. In the second half, Andy just got real into the game, and it kind of squelches Sonny. It's usually kind of a first half thing. where Sonny just tells funny stories and Andy, just kind of like lets him go a little bit and kind of, I can kind of see Andy like hearing, listening to, hey, thank you, administrative assistant, listening to the stories in one ear and like not even really paying attention. It's kind of like when your wife, when your mom's telling you stories and you're like half listening. Oh yeah, really? Oh. My mom's like, oh, well, my back's been hurting. It's been raining and my back hurts. And I'm just like, oh, really? Cool. So, sorry. Yeah, shit, I hope it stops raining. Any day now. I think I brought you up earlier, administrative. Oh, I know what it was. It was me telling Denton, you got to know your girl. I used a different word for girl, but you got to know your girl. I think that's great advice. Do you feel like if we're in a disagreement, which we're obviously not in very often because you're right all the time, but if we are in a disagreement, do you feel like I'm wrong, you're right, I'm sorry? Does that work? It works a lot of the time, right? Depends on how many stop signs I've gone through. Right. John Burke says, okay, on his question, have you hung out in Maysville, Kentucky? No, not really. I've been through there. Now, when I was in college, let's see, you couldn't get liquor on Sundays, I think. And so we would drive to the Tennessee border to get bourbon and beer. That's the one where Sam pissed in the car, if you remember. And we would go down that way. It made a lot more sense for us to go straight south and go to like Laverne, Tennessee, but we didn't do that. We would go out to Western Kentucky for some reason. Who knows? I don't even know why we did that. College kids doing stupid shit, but anyway. So no, I have not hung out in Maysville a lot. I hung out in Lexington and a little bit in Louisville, although not really Louisville. It's more like Anchorage and Pee Wee Valley and Prospect. Yes, Prospect. Yes. Anyway, Alex says, are we getting Jalen Green? I think yes. We need to get an actual Magic 8 ball out here for the show, and we'll shake that bad boy up, and we'll get a different answer every time, but I think Auburn's going to get him. We probably need to, oh my gosh, it got retweeted by T-Will. I feel like I've made it. I love T-Will now. Speaking of that, T-Will loves him some Al Pogue, the new assistant coach. I do find it interesting that they didn't give him a position. I think they just listed him as a defensive assistant. I guess we'll just figure that out later. DZS says, are you a bit under the weather, JG? You sound a bit rough. Yes, I am a little bit. I got sick. I've been sick for like a week now, but it got worse on Thursday overnight. Well, Wednesday into Thursday, I got sick, and I really wasn't working very much on Thursday, although I was chasing the Al Pogue thing. And then Friday, I felt a little bit better. I was still not feeling very good, although we still did win the Al Pogue story. And then I knew about the dadgum statues, but I just could not get that thing written. Sometimes I know stuff and I can't get it written just because I don't know what the truth, I don't know exactly what's up with that. Let's see, Patrick D says Pogues and Maysville are Auburn folks and they make great bourbon. Word. I have to consider that. I didn't know there were a bunch of Auburn people up there. There probably are because they come down here. One of our good friends, Beaver, Stephen Burchett, he was able to go to Auburn vet school because they have some kind of a swap deal with Kentucky kids where you can go to vet school at Auburn for in-state because Auburn kids can go to UK medical school in-state or something like that. I don't know if that's still in place, but that was a deal. Melee says you had a pre-sick cough the last few weeks. Yeah, I remember Jeff C. was getting on me about it too. He's like, JG, you got to go get that looked at, bro. You're sick. I was like, I'm not sick. I'm fine. All right, we think we need to get B-Matt on the horn. I feel like it's getting to be that time. And I got 143 likes on that tweet. That's pretty good. How about that? All right, let's get B-Matt on the horn. Where you at, B-Matt? D'Angelo Purifoy out with the flu. I hope he's back for the next game. I think he will be. You just have to keep an eye on to see if anybody else gets out. Anybody else gets sick. We'll have to quarantine him. But Allie's pretty fired up. Allie was fired up on the Twitter after the game. I think she's been buying into basketball a little bit here lately. Remember when she was an intern with us, I was like, hey, you want to cover some basketball for us? She's like, no, I don't. I was like, okay, appreciate that. DZS says, honest opinion, is AU the best basketball team this year? Best in the SEC or best in the country or best on the planet? I don't know what you mean. I would say that Auburn's pretty good. I'm not sure they're 21-2 good. I mean, they are, but this is going to catch up with them eventually. They can't keep trying to organize or orchestrate these insane comebacks. I mean, down 8 with a minute and a half to go or whatever. Like, I don't care how ballsy you are and how confident you are. You're not going to get out of that every time. You're not. And when you get in the NCAA tournament and you're having to play some real titans like Dayton or San Diego State or whoever, that's not going to fly. Call Me Biscuit says, we need to get BMAT on before you get the whole brain drain sick. He hadn't answered me yet. I wonder, has he posted his story yet? I can't really look right now. Let's see. David P says, when you were sick and someone reminds you you're sick, ever notice how that is when you cough? It's weird. It's like a mental response. Well, here, ask me that right now. Melee said, is BMAT in his pajamas yet? BMAT called in the show in his bed the other day, and somebody on the chat was like, ask BMAT if he's laying down in bed. And so I asked him, and he's like, yeah. Why? Because everybody on the show knows BMAT. AU Taxman says, has BMAT recovered from his walk to the car? When we have BMAT on in football season, he's always like, yeah, I mean, I thought they played really hard today. And I mean, you got to admit, that was a big comeback win. You know, for Booby to fumble 7 times and Gus gave him the ball an 8th time and he scored a big touchdown against Tulane, and Tulane's going to be really good. And you're like, damn, dude, did you just walk up the stairs? And he's like, no, I was just walking to the car. Like, I thought you were the guy that walked 15,000 steps a day. It's like, I do. I asked him what the hardest walk he ever had was the other day. Like, was there a particular walk that was tougher than the others? And he said he had one that he had to poop in the middle of it, and he was stuck, and he wasn't anywhere where he could go. Maybe we'll ask BMAT. Get BMAT to tell that story on the show one of these days. I said, hey, I've been in that situation a couple times in my life. Not myself, but I've seen other people. Oh, I have. I don't want to say on the show. When did I've never started. I know somebody. I know somebody's mom. Somebody's mom did. I don't want to name any names. I know somebody whose mom sharded on River Road in Louisville, Kentucky. she waddled across the road and it happened. It happened. I'm telling you guys, it happened. Oh, BMAT is ready. Okay, here we go. AU Taxman's gotten to the heart of the matter here. He says BMAT ties his Fitbit to his dog to get his steps. He's a Fitbit fraud. Get him. Let's see. Alex says, just beat 2 ranked teams this week. Got to put us up to 7 or 8 in the new AP poll. Was Arkansas ranked? It was still a good win, though. And then, beating LSU definitely should. We'll see. Auburn was 11 this week. I think 7 or 8 is fair. We'll just have to see what happens above them. I think Auburn's a little better than 11. Myself. David P. says, the 1920 Auburn basketball is like the 2010 Auburn football team. We keep falling behind, but find a way to win every single game. Yes, that part's true, but, you know, they need a Cam Newton. I don't know I think Isaac Okoro is that guy, but he's not quite there yet. Melee says some people are actually hard walking. There's hard walking and soft walking. The other day I asked him, I can't remember what it was. It was something happened this week, and I called him, and I was on my way to Auburn for something. I need him to post a story, and he said, man, I'm at Beard Eves. I was like, because he does laps around Beard Eves. That's soft walking to me because it's flat. Anyway. Corny says everyone is sharded. Sometimes gas is poop. That's good. That's good. That's good. All right, we're going to go ahead and get B-Man on the horn. With that, we're going to get that going. Kenneth N says, hell, don't stop there. Fire up a joint. Auburn won. Everybody's been making fun of me for drinking. And I haven't even, I haven't been drinking. All right, let's get B-Man on the horn. I wonder why it does the split thing now. I don't know why it does that.
What is up?
Is this Brian Matthews?
Hey, you got the one and only.
How you been, bro?
I've been great.
Where are you located?
Can you guess?
Beard Eves?
You got it, brother. I just walked up the stairs and walked in. Yep.
That's soft walking. We've been talking about that on the show today. But there's a difference between hard walking and soft walking.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because it's too flat, man.
Well, I have done 23 stairs or 24 so far today, so that's pretty good, too.
Hey, somebody mentioned in the chat that they had been walking one time and they were a long way from home, and they kind of felt the need, like they felt nature calling, and it was kind of an uncomfortable situation. Have you ever had that happen?
Yes, I have. It's not good, especially at my age.
And so, how did you deal with it?
Well, lucky I was fairly close by to the neighborhood pool, so I managed to make it to there and hop over the fence and take care of business in a proper restroom. But if that wasn't there, probably have to find some woods or something. I don't know, because there's no way you're making it home. There's just no way. I'll call somebody to pick me up.
Have you done that? Have you actually had somebody come pick you up?
No, I'm saying that was the only other choice.
Oh, that was the only other choice, yeah. So you basically pulled a D-liner and you hopped the pool fence, and then you went right there. Yep.
And that was the scariest jump I've ever done in my life, too.
You better be lucky
not
that...
not just because of my age, but because, what could happen if I get a little bit out of control on it.
Hell yeah, totally. You better be lucky that that dude from AL.com isn't still working there, because he would have said Alabama would pull your scholarship just for jumping over that damn fence, bro.
That's true. That's true. I forgot about that. That's pretty good.
What was that clown's name? I forget his name. It'll come to me one of these days.
I can't remember.
He was like, they were like, Auburn has to drop D-liner because he hopped the fence at a pool, and then he went to Alabama, and then it was like, nah, it's fine.
I probably should have dropped him anyway, but that's how it goes.
Hey, so this another one, man. Another game where Auburn, I think they had like a 1% chance to get out of that, and then they did it. And it's just kind of becoming what Auburn basketball does, right?
It's crazy. That's 7 comebacks so far this season. That's 4 in a row. They're down 15 in the first half, 14 in the second half, down by, 8 with 1 minute and 29 seconds?
Yeah.
I'm forgetting what I wrote, but it was insane. I mean, that they can keep doing this. And Javon McCormick, who's not a very good shooter, nails 3 3-pointers right there at the very end. And, Samir Dowdy, of course, gets the layup to tie it. But that was just an amazing comeback. I kept thinking to myself, why do they keep throwing up these 3-pointers? Why don't they drive them to the hole? And I know LSU was doing some things to try to stop that. But and it almost worked. But, Javon and company took over there at the end, and David Cambridge was incredible off the bench again, just when Auburn needed them.
Yeah. So what was the mood after the game? Was BP kind of like, I mean, this is great, but this stuff has to stop eventually?
A little bit. I think he was more excited. He called that one of the best comebacks of his career, considering the opponents and considering the importance of the game with, first place on the line in the conference, which Auburn is now tied for first place to LSU. He talked a little bit about certain players, but no, I think he was more happy with the way the team fought. Gave a lot of credit to LSU and Will Wade. You can tell he's got a lot of respect for Will Wade as a coach. And I didn't realize that, or for some reason I'd forgotten that Will Wade coached Samir Dowdy at VCU. Mm-hmm. And Pearl told the story about how, Wade, he called Wade, when Samir was looking to transfer, and asked him, should he take this kid? And Will told him, yeah, he's got a great heart, plays hard. And then after the game, Pearl said that Coach Wade came to him and said, I knew, I'm glad I recommended Samir to you, but I didn't know he could be this good. So maybe a few regrets there from Will Wade. I think there's a lot of respect between those two.
Interesting. Because I think of Will Wade as kind of a bad guy, like one of the bad guys.
Yeah, well, I do too. But I don't think you've seen that way among us fellow coaches. I think they understand how the game's played. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So they listen.
The other thing I wanted to add that was interesting was, and I included in my Pearl transcription or my notes from his press conference. He said at the end that in the rotation, it was Alan Flanagan's turn to come in the second half, and he told Howard Bowman, he said, "No, let Devin stay in there, keep playing because you're doing so good." And Pearl sort of picked that out as saying that tells me about our team chemistry, and that's sort of what makes a great team is having team chemistry like that. So I thought that was a big number too.
Yeah, I mean, Devin, he had a game, maybe 3 or 4 games ago where he went crazy, and then today I thought he was a big part of this victory. Totally, just got super hot, right?
Yeah, he did. I think it was 7 of 11 3-pointers, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. And his shot is just not a pretty shot, but it keeps going in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And, I thought LSU did a terrific job, defending Auburn. I think they had a great plan. And it worked basically for, 38 minutes. And then Auburn just closed them out so strong. I mean, they just went off. I think they made 6 of their final 7 3-pointers, or maybe it was 7 of the last 9 in regulation and overtime, and just tore them up there at the end.
Who's your MVP from this one, B. Matt? I mean, Skylar Mays obviously had a great game, and I'm talking about from the Auburn side.
Skylar Mays was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness, he was unbelievable. I've got to go with Javon because with the game on the line, he stepped up and made those big threes and, made the big shot there to win it there. And in overtime, he has to be your MVP. Absolutely, 100%. I know Samir had a great game, but it's got to be Javon.
And he stuck with the 5, man. I thought he might go to that 55, but he said the jersey was too damn big.
That's right. And I guess we should also mention Austin Wiley and Auburn's rebounding. They're out rebounding in the first half, and they just tore LSU up on the boards in the second half. I think they ended up with 17 or 18 offensive rebounds in the game. And Pearl singled out Austin Wiley as a big reason Auburn was able to do that comeback with the work he did inside, getting rebounds, blocking or disrupting other shots and such.
And Austin played 30 minutes, B-Matt.
Yep.
That's a career high for him.
13, something like that.
It's a double. That's a career high for him. 10 points, 13 boards in 30 minutes. Unbelievable.
There you go.
All right, so you've got the Alabama game coming up in midweek, and you think Auburn will be charged up for that one?
I do. Honestly, I think it's time for Auburn to blow somebody out of the gym. That's just, you know what I'm saying? They've been living, on the edge here with these comebacks. Alabama's, I think they'll still be down a man. I think that the young man is still injured, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Broken
wrist.
I just think Auburn is due, especially with what Alabama did to them to sort of knock them off and have that big win in Tuscaloosa. I think Auburn's ready for a little payback.
You think they're up for it? They start slow all the time, dude.
Do what?
They always start slow.
They do, but I think they're due to not always start slow. You know what I'm saying? They're due for one of those, and if they're going to do it to anybody, it's going to be Alabama at home, especially this team.
Yeah, it's getting to be that time. And Samir, hey, a lot of credit to Samir. I thought he started kind of slow today, B-Matt, but man, as they were trying to rebuild themselves in the second half, he started bombing away, and he got it done, man.
He really did. He was really smooth, made some really big step-back threes. Took it to the hole when he needed to. Didn't always finish, but kept on doing it. And then, they were able to do everything with Isaac Oro maybe having one of the worst games of his Auburn career so far. In such an important game, he struggled. But Samir, Javon, and Devin were enough. Those guys stepping up to, make up for that.
Yeah. Good team win, man. There was a lot of dudes helping, Think about Austin had a good game. Coro not so much, but, Devin steps up. Samir steps up, Javon steps up, and that's a big win, man. Number 1 team in the conference.
Not too shabby.
Word. All right, B-Matt, you're doing a hell of a job. I appreciate the guidance on the issues you might have walking. If you ever get stuck and nature calls, we know what to do now.
Yeah. Yeah, then you got 3 options: woods, nearby bathroom, or call for help, 911. Hey, I should also mention, I think Al Pogue is a great hire by Coach Malzahn and Kevin Steele and that entire staff. I think he'll be a great addition. I think he's going to do everything that you want from a coach: evaluate, recruit, develop, just be a terrific leader of men. I just think Auburn hit the jackpot with Al Pogue.
And Booby's gone.
Yeah, I put on the board, but in some ways, I think it's addition by subtraction because you're talking about a guy who's led the team in rushing last 2 years, who is your starter going into next year at least. I mean, your probable one, but he's a guy that wasn't putting in the same amount of work as his teammates on and off the field as far as going to classes and workouts and all that stuff. And you can't have that.
Yeah.
I mean, you absolutely can't have that on your team, or you're going to have a bad team, just like we saw in 2008.
B-Matt, you're always welcome here. I appreciate you, bro.
All right, brother.
See you, man.
See you.
That's Brian Matthews. He's a doer of many things, you guys. You know that. Here's the standings, freshly updated. Excuse me. To reflect today's happenings, at least so far. And Auburn looks like it's in a three-way tie with Kentucky, whom Auburn has already beaten, and LSU, whom Auburn has already beaten, both in the arena. I don't think Auburn's going back to LSU this year. They are going back to Kentucky late in the season. So there you go. A little bit different than I thought this would look. If you were asking me before the season started, I thought Ole Miss would be higher. I mean, Texas A&M 5-5. That's pretty good for them. I thought Mississippi State would be higher. I thought Florida would be higher. I thought Auburn would be lower. I thought LSU would be lower. So there's been some weird things. Dude, that Ole Miss team is so strange to me. That team is absolutely objectively better than A&M. And I don't know. We're not here to talk about Ole Miss. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring up those standings and show you that. Brando says, do we have any closed caption? We absolutely do when this replays on YouTube. I don't know if they do it live. So if you want that, maybe you should wait until the show's over and it will archive immediately. It should be back up like within a couple minutes after the show. And, yeah, then you'll be able to have that. I've actually used that before. Excuse me, guys. So, B-Man, did you see me? I blamed you guys and tried to ask B-Man about sharding on the walk. That's pretty funny. Alex says Ole Miss just whipped Florida. Okay, well, that helps Ole Miss. That's probably why they have 3 wins now. I feel like they're a team that they're going to get it together. But I guess today might be the day when they start playing better. They've got players now. Auburn's sitting at the top, though. 21-2. Never would have seen this coming, you guys. I just didn't think they have it. Hell, I still don't think they have it. BP said it the other day in the press conference. We don't have the statistical profile of a team that kicks a lot of ass. And they don't. They don't shoot well. They tend to get behind. But they just have this thing where just when pressure's on, and you know what I should have thought about? They're one of the very best teams in the country. They're like top 2 or 3% in the country when it comes to buckets inside of the 5 seconds left. Let me rephrase that. Start over that. They're one of the best teams in the country, top 5 in shooting with the shot clock at 5 seconds or shorter, which tells me that's a team that is very calm and conscientious when they're operating under pressure, right? I mean, they're like 99th percentile on that particular statistic. And that tells me that's a team that's cool under pressure. And so you can kind of spread that out. It's more of a meta thing where it's like not just at the end of the shot clock, but at the end of games when things aren't looking good. They're just really good at stepping up in the big moment and making the big plays. And I can't believe Javon is the guy that ends up being this guy. I just can't believe it. When they signed Javon, we were all kind of scratching our heads going, geez Louise, is this really where you want to go? Because, Auburn recruits 5 stars now, and they signed 5 stars. And Javon was just kind of some dude. And he's come in and he's been pretty damn good. I think he's better generally as a distributor versus being a downhill driver now because defenses pay more attention to him. But, man, he's effective. Call Me Biscuit says this team feels like the 83 NC State Wolfpack. I don't know a lot about that team, but I know how they played in that tournament. They're pretty damn good. Chris M., who you guys know, well, I don't want to say who you are. I'll let you figure that out. Chris M. is one of our great bunker posters, says you do get live captions, so that's good. I'm sorry for the YouTube, coding that has to try to figure out what I'm saying because I mumble sometimes. I try not to, but, Let's see. Damon K says that we're talking about the how good Auburn is with less than 5 seconds on the shot clock. He says it should also tell you that the point guard keeps the ball at the top of the key for too long before trying to score. I don't know if we can extrapolate that much, but I tend to agree. We've talked about it a bunch. It takes Auburn, either they just straight up fail at it, or it takes them too long to get organized a lot of times for their half-court sets. They're communicating plays in. Sometimes they're not getting run. Sometimes they're getting run incorrectly. Sometimes Javon just doesn't know what he's doing. There's a variety of things that go wrong when they're trying to run stuff in the half-court. I didn't notice it as much today. They ran some really good stuff, I thought, from the bench today. And Barkley was saying that on the air with Andy after the game that, we got a hell of a coach, and, we may lose a game every now and then, but we're never going to get out-coached. And the stuff that BP and his staff can affect the games with their strategy, they do a really good job with it. Auburn's out-of-bounds plays are insane. They were insane last year. It's a really underreported part of the game because it's hard to write about. They don't want to talk about it because their stuff is kind of like their stuff, and the other teams know about it, and they change up, and you can't run the same out-of-bounds plays all the time because they'd figure it out. So they have several that they rotate with, and they spend a lot of time in practice doing it, and they're really good at out-of-bounds plays. I know one of those Cambridge threes late in the second half came on an out-of-bounds, and he had kind of a double screen, a stagger screen to come out and got a wide-open shot and hit it. It's just good coaching, man. Good coaching. It's BP. It's Chad. It's Wes. It's Burgo. It's Ira Bowman. They all do a great job with that. Jeff C., I mentioned to you early in the show. He warned me I was going to get sicker, but there's really not a lot I could do about it. You said, I'm with B-Mad. I think they're going to wax Bama this week. Hell yeah. I'd be good with that. Keith M. says they're the Cardiac Kids. It's a good name for them. I realized there was so many 4 comebacks in a row like that. Really is getting kind of hairy about it, You think about it. Call Me Biscuit says, again, Call Me Biscuit, thank you. Appreciate you. Your voice sounds better after a Four Roses pull. Can't believe I'm paying money to make JGT drink. Damn you. I was just sitting here thinking, I don't have a problem, and I'm not going to drink any more today because I don't feel great. And, the Four Roses I had earlier was tasty, but then, you know what? Call Me Biscuit says, JG, I think your voice sounds better after you take a pull off the Four Roses, so I got to load it up again. You know what? I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Eagle Rare. Well, you said specifically Four Roses. Would you mind if I took an Eagle Rare pull? Would that bother you, Biscuit? I mean, I'm here to please, so to speak. So I'll wait for your answer on that. Deezer says you are not going to see a lot of teams going under the screen anymore on Javon, but he needs to get better at hitting the screener going to the rim. Yeah, he's very slow to recognize that a lot of times, isn't he? That has been missing since SEC play. They run that stuff and it's there a lot, and he just doesn't see it. It's kind of like he's at the top, or maybe not straight away, but he's up in that top flank, and then they run, and he's the ball, the open guy's running away from him, and it's like he can't see it. Like it's almost like his view of that person is obfuscated by the screen. And a lot of times they just kind of throw it over it, but Javon doesn't feel comfortable doing that or whatever. Call Me Biscuit says Eagle Rare works. Thank you. We'll see how that affects my voice. I wanted to make sure, So I'll take a pull off this Eagle Rare. That's not our official bourbon today, but it's the one that's going down the hatch right now. I'm going to give a thanks to my friend Chris. There we go. Mm-hmm. Give a shout out to my friend Chris H., who was able to snatch this Eagle Rare for me down in the bayou. Cleve says he just picked up some Elmer T. Lee. That sounds delicious. I actually looked up. I looked him up on YouTube and was watching. That's pretty lame of me, isn't it? To look up Elmer T. Lee. He was a master distiller at Buffalo Trace for a number of years, and I watched an interview with him. I mean, it's not a really exciting interview. It was done a long time ago, and he retired in 85, so when he was being interviewed, which I'm assuming was around 2000. He was an old dude, but it was interesting to kind of hear how, like, you know, you think bourbon trace for people like me and a lot of y'all, that's a big deal, right? I mean, that's Blanton's, that's Eagle Rare, that's Buffalo Trace, that's Elmer T. Lee. A lot of really good bourbons there. And it was basically just some dudes like distilling shit back in the day, you know? Like that guy, he did have a degree from university, which is a big deal in the 40s. That wasn't all that common, but, you know, to think that guy who was basically their handyman rose to like master distiller with a degree in engineering is kind of weird to me. I don't know. All right, here we go. Call me Biscuit. The sweet, smooth sounds of J.G. Tate. You know. Let's see if that improves the old vocal cords. Hey, you Taxman says, I can't ever find Elmer T. Lee. Yeah, I have had it now I think about it. But I had it with a friend in Kentucky. I've never seen it down here. Hey, you Taxman says, you should check out the Bourbon Pursuit podcast. I will check that out. Wrote that down, Bourbon Pursuit. I think I also missed a super chat when I was on the horn with BMAT, which was Canoe Man. I did miss one. It says, Lamp, next tour is starting, so I'm completely out. Thanks for everything. He's not even here to see it, but he is on a bourbon tour somewhere. I bet he mentioned where it was, but I missed it. Either Louisville or Bardstown or possibly Lexington/Midway. Yeah. There we go. Let's see, Jeff C., who lives up in Middle Tennessee, I believe. So we had 4 inches of snow this morning on the mountain, and it's 55 degrees now. How about that? I think it's going to be warming up down here. It was cold, yeah. Like, it was really warm 2 days ago, and it was really cold yesterday. Now it's like semi-warm again. It's crazy. DFY again, second super chat. Appreciate you. Says, my body and brain hurts from high school kickoffs. I like the XFL rule. Awesome. I did not know specifically the rules. I guess you're talking about they just kind of get the ball to start with at the 25 or whatever and avoid that. Because I'd be a big fan of that. I know it's an important part of the football game, but it seems like that's when people get hurt a lot. I haven't watched any XFL. I saw that my friend Barrett Salih's been, I'm sorry, Jeff, I incorrectly reported where you are. You're in North Georgia and not Central Tennessee. I'm sorry about that. My friend Barrett Salih was posting a lot about the XFL. I don't know if is he like a sideline reporter or something for it? I almost felt like he was like promoting it. Like, I'm a part owner of the XFL. Please watch it. I don't know. Bill Biscuit said, thank me later, Brain Drain. We just added 30 minutes because I drank that Eagle Rare. Talk about the Charles, this Biscuit again. Talk about the Charles interview after the game. High praise for Sonny, the students, and on his way to see your least favorite band, the Eagles. You know, when he said that, I was very surprised. Barkley said on the air with Andy that the Eagles are his favorite group, which really makes me sad. I mean, when I was having that disagreement with the other Auburn beat writers, we were just talking about best American rock group. I mean, to say that of all the groups in any genre ever, it's unfathomable. Yeah, you know the word I'm looking for, that you would choose the Eagles when you have Steel Panther to go to. Steel Panther. You could go see Steel Panther sing great songs like Eatin' Ain't Cheatin', Asian Hooker, Gangbang of the Old Folks Home. I mean, there's a lot of the great songs. And he goes to see one of these nights without Glenn Fry, rest in peace, who's no longer part of the Eagles because he's no longer part of Living Society. Anyway, Barkley said he was going to go see the Eagles tonight in Atlanta, and he got to see Auburn win. He was there, obviously, in the arena today, so he said this is basically the best day ever. I mean, if the guy likes the Eagles, that's fine. But I feel like he could do better. I read a story yesterday in Esquire magazine about Huey Lewis, who I kind of overlooked in the 80s a little bit because I was more into like Depeche Mode and like I felt like in The Cure and like edgier music. I still liked Southern rock and stuff too. I listen to lots of stuff except not country. I don't ever listen to country, but I listen to pretty much everything else. And I didn't listen to Huey Lewis a lot because I was like, he's old and he plays like that like music that my parents think is cool. Anyway, so I kind of like his music more now, maybe for the nostalgia or whatever. But he has Meniere's disease, which is it's like an inner ear problem, and he's not able. He says sound all muffled to him, and he can't sing because it just doesn't sound right. He can't hear it. He can't get feedback really, and I felt terrible. It was just a weird. He doesn't necessarily feel terrible, but it was weird to see that happening to somebody who spent their whole life like entertaining folks and singing and performing, and now you've got this disease and you don't know if it's ever going to, and doctors can't tell you if it's going to right itself or not. And he's like chilling at his ranch in rural Montana. I guess there's not really urban Montana, is there? He's chilling on his ranch in Montana and just waiting it out. That's weird. I've been listening to his music a lot. Hey, you tax man, don't start with me. Don't start with that Eagle stuff, man. I don't want to see it. No, I will not start liking the Eagles one of these nights, I promise you. Looks like Deezer might be a Depeche Mode fan. Let me tell you a little story about Depeche Mode. Don't go see them now because that's not your crew. That's not your people, and those aren't my people either. I mean, like Depeche Mode, I was supposed to go see Depeche Mode, fourth row at Reunion Arena in Dallas in '89, and I didn't end up going because I was working at a summer camp, and they wanted me to come back and like start a new session like a day or two early. And I was like, well, I can either tell them to kick rocks or I can go to this Depeche Mode concert or I can do what I'm supposed to do. And my dad was on the board of directors of the camp. I was like, or I can get my ass beat by my dad. I better go. So I went to camp and I missed it. And that was on the Violator tour. So I guess that was 90 actually. And yeah, I missed it. Anyway, so Depeche Mode, caught him again like maybe 5 years ago in Atlanta. I don't think it's the same crew, man. It's like all like super gothy now. Like guys wearing makeup and eyeliner and all that stuff. It's a whole like it's like a Marilyn Manson type group now. I mean, they don't play that music, but I'm saying the folks there look like that. I don't know if JG. I don't know if that's really my scene. Steve V, who I'm familiar with, I believe he's out in the Carolinas. Says, who is Steel Panther? Are they one of those rapper groups? You got me, Steve. My man. Ruxpin says he's going to see the Eagles tonight. I'm not going to judge you, bro. If you like them, that's awesome. Greatest American band? No way. Absolutely not. Now you guys are singing Eagles lyrics, and I'm going to get mad. Deezer says, hey, you taxman is taking it to the limit one more time. There's like one Eagles song I like. New Kid in Town's a good song. It was written not by the Eagles. It was written by J.D. Souther. And Glenn Frey would always say that in concert. How do I know? I don't know. I've listened to it a few times. But he would say, this is a song written by our friend J.D. Souther. This is New Kid in Town. You know, I can do that. Ladies and gentlemen, live from Montgomery, Alabama, it's the Eagles. Sorry, guys. I don't know anybody good to introduce. Anyway. These are, oh, so you have been talking about Depeche Mode. Says they do not look or sound the same, JG. That's for sure. Absolutely. I was a little surprised. When Vince Clarke left the band in like whatever that was, 82 or 83, they slowly started kind of getting more that way and less poppy, you know. It was a slow transition because the Violator was like 7 years after he left and they were still pretty poppy, but well, they've waited off. They're off the reservation now. I'm talking about Depeche Mode. Melee says, was anyone else at the Mud at the Birmingham horse track? Well, you're going back on that one. Birmingham Racecourse to see Guns N' Roses back in the day. Oh, my goodness. I wish I was there, bro. I bet you that would have been there in the Use Your Illusion tour, wouldn't it? It was about that time. Wow. Jason H. says he was. He was almost waist deep in the mud. Man, this sounds good. My goodness gracious. Damon K says Ruxpin is going to go see the Eagles and drink some Tennessee bourbon. Oh, that's funny, man. That's like a double whammy right there. Ay. Yeah. Going to see the Eagles and drinking Jack Daniels would make me as mad as B-Matt after a crappy football offensive performance. Deezer says LSU knows all about a heartache tonight. Sorry, had to. I can't believe that you guys like the Eagles. I feel like they're just like the most mediocre band ever. Like, Uh-oh. Jeff C. says your son says I look pale. Oh, no. I hope I don't get more sick than I already am, Jeff. And you warned me. You told me. You said you need to go to the doctor, bro. And I was like, nah, I'll figure this out. And to be fair, I still haven't gone to the doctor. I'm just letting it kind of work its way out. It's following the usual pattern. I mean, I feel better today than I did yesterday, that's for sure. But I hope I'm not really pale, because that'd be bad. That mean bad things are happening. So Jeff C. says he saw Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue on Guns N' Roses' first American tour, which would have been like, what, 87-ish, maybe? Appetite for Destruction, 87, 88. I've been listening to some Motley Crue here lately. Dude, Looks to Kill is like probably top 25 song for me. I think a lot of people think that song sucks. I love that song. Absolutely love that song. I think the chorus of Looks That Kill is one of the all-times. Looks like Ruxpin is headed out for the Eagles concert, getting ready to, pre-concert activity for the Eagles. I mean, you got to spend hours getting ready for that thunderous show. He says, I'll see myself out. Love all you boys and girls. Get well soon, JG. Thank you for the super chats, Ruxpin. And for just being a badass like you are. Appreciate that. Jeff C. says it could progress. Go see the doctor. Well, my dad's a doc. So maybe I'll run it by him if I feel worse. How it tends to go. It gets worse, and then, I'm doing better. I figure my wife gave it to me, and she's like almost fine now. So I'm kind of following the same basic script that she did. I'm just like 4 or 5 days behind. I'm glad Corny Mofo agrees that Looks to Kill is amazing. I love that song. Absolutely love it. They have it on a live version, too, on one of their live albums, and I thought it sounded really good live, too. And then I also saw a thing on YouTube the other day where it was like, you've seen these videos where like the kids react to the song, so they'll play like a bunch of AC/DC songs, and then you'll hear that the kids will like tell you what they think about it, or if they've heard it before, and invariably they always go, oh yeah, my dad plays this in the car. I'm like, I like that guy already. This time it was Tommy Lee reacting to the kids reacting to Motley Crue, which was pretty funny. And one of the kids was being a hipster, and he was all like, I don't know, this sounds a little hard for me. And I was like, what are you listening to normally, dude? Like Norah Jones? I mean, come on, man. Motley Crue isn't that hard. Ministry is hard. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Corrosion of Conformity, that's hard. This is not hard. Jason H. says, best live performance I'm assuming you've ever seen, personally yourself, is Pink Floyd. I did mention this on the show a couple weeks ago, that if I had 3 albums to take on a deserted island, A Delicate Sound of Thunder by Pink Floyd, a live album by Pink Floyd, would be on my list, which was released in, I think that record was released in 86 or 87. I still think it's a double disc. These days they don't have discs, but it's probably 20 tracks, 15 tracks, and it's incredible. And I still think it's the best version of Run Like Hell, which is one of my favorite songs. I love the way that they do the delay on the guitars. Jeff probably knows more about that than I do, but they set up the delay on those guitars for Run Like Hell, and it's awesome. Damon Cayley says, hipsters listen to Billie Eilish. Absolutely. I do respect Billie Eilish. I mean, she's kicking ass in her own way, and she has one song that I think's actually decent, but my daughter listens to her a little bit, and I'm just like, my daughter usually listens to rap, though, honestly, but she'll occasionally listen to Billie Eilish. It blows me away how my daughter, I drove with her the other day, because me and my man J-Dub were doing that drinking, the bourbon tasting, and we needed a ride home. And so my daughter gave me a ride home, and we drove probably 20 minutes maybe. And she had it on the Sirius XM rap station, and she knew every lyric to every rap that came on, and I was blown away. I mean, every one. I guess there was a time in like 89 I could have done that on the radio, but it's just weird now to see somebody else do it with the songs that I don't even know. It's crazy. Melee saw Glenn Danzig at the Sloss Furnace. I bet you that was an insane scene. I would have really enjoyed to be there myself. Jeff C. says he saw the thing with Tommy Lee. It was really funny, wasn't it? Oh, I'm glad he got to do that, though. I mean, I'm glad he gets to see like some of the young kids. There were a few of them that were like throwing up the devil horns. That was awesome. I just hope that someday my daughter goes to a real rock show and she throws up the horns. I mean, she's done it at Steel Panther, and I was really happy to see it, and it was like a crowning moment for me, but I hope she does that on her own someday. Jeff says his son's names are Halen, Rock, and Axel. If that's true, that's pretty cool, man. Halen. See, for me, Van Halen is a great American rock and roll band. Probably the best one. Not the best selling. It's probably Aerosmith, but Van Halen for me is just nuts. I know some people say, well, after the 1984 record, it got weird, and I could see that. It got a little poppy. But I don't know, man. People change, yo. As Geddy Lee once sang, as Neil Peart once wrote, you got to leave room for you and I to grow, as they said on the song Entre Nous. Bo B, my man, Bo. You guys know Bo B. We know him better as Spotter Emeritus. With the super chat, says he hopes it's not the coronavirus. Hey, don't worry about it, man. I'm quarantined. You can't get it over YouTube, Bo. I promise. But I have been told to stay in my little neighborhood here in Montgomery and drink this Eagle Rare when Biscuit tells me to. Jeff C says that is indeed their names. Well, Keith M. First of all, Keith M. I'm sorry that I forgot it. He says Metallica is the best selling, and I bet you're right. They've had so many albums. And if you're asking me, the best rock songs of my lifetime, they're probably like 4 of the top 5 for me are Metallica songs. I still listen to Master of Puppets as if it came out like a few weeks ago. Partly because it's awesome. Partly because my sister and I used to listen to it all the time. And I've been going through like these, you guys know, I'm not trying to rock you guys for sympathy or anything, but my sister died in March 2016 from a drug overdose. And you guys who have lost siblings, maybe parents or whatever, you kind of go through these periods where like I was really bummed out for a long time. And then as time goes on, it becomes not so bothersome, but something will trigger it and you'll think about it more. And then you start thinking about it more. And I started listening to Master of Puppets because we used to listen to it together. And I don't know, like after the first few times I hear the song Master of Puppets, it kind of bums me out because the whole song is about getting addicted to drugs and how we would talk about it even when she was after she got a rehab and stuff. You can't do this, you can't continue to use drugs or whatever. She'd be like, I know, and it's what James says, and James Hetfield, and then she did and she died. But so I get angry about it, but over time, man, it's just like it's a way to kind of still connect with her in a way and kind of think about us driving together and listening to it and her throwing up the devil horns and stuff. I don't know. We spent a lot of time listening to Master of Puppets and I guess what you would call and Justice for All and then the Black Album. We listened to that a lot. So, yes, Metallica is awesome. And I have not seen them live and I should have seen them live. So there's that. Jeff C with a super chat says, here's to 80s rock. Feel better, JG. Thank you, man. When I started getting sick the other day, I told Courtney, I said, Jeff on the show told me I needed to go see somebody. But my wife's worse than me. She will not go to a doctor. In fact, the way that her health insurance works now, she gets on like a teleconference with a doctor. She didn't actually go. She didn't actually go. I mean, they still give her medications and stuff. But Sparrow Empire says Red Hot Chili Peppers are big-time sellers too. Yeah, I'm not going to tell my Red Hot Chili Peppers story again. Told it too many times. Steve V says, I've seen Van Halen referred to as heavy metal disco. Ouch, man. If you're talking about Dance the Night Away, yeah, that's kind of... But I don't think of Dance the Night Away as being, like, typical for them. Look at TD. That's a lamp post right there. He says, saw Metallica at Woodstock. You... That would have been a really tasty concert to go to right there. Oh, yeah. I think Chili Peppers are from the same era. Sure. I just don't know if they're quite as big. I mean, Under the Bridge was a great song. I mean, super great. And they had the ones after that, like Californication, Other Side. But they're not Metallica level, I don't think. Robert says, speaking of devil horns, I'm going to give Larry Johnson's Twitter a plug. It can pass hours of time scrolling his profile. I'll have to check that out. Oh my gosh, we have made it 2 hours. We got a super chat coming through from Biscuit again. Was it like your fourth today? Thank you. Thank you for that. It's a super chat for JGT, Advil, cold and sinus, Mucinex, and Metamucil. Metamucil? My dad used to drink that. Thanks for 2 hours. Amazed you made it. Thank you for being here. I think you've been here the whole 2 hours too. Thank you for the super chat there, bro. And for Bo, again, I don't think I gave Bo enough love for that. Appreciate you jumping in. I'm surprised to see you here. I'm glad you're here. That's awesome. Will Collier's here as well. Slides in there with just a small, nice. I know Will Collier likes Van Halen a lot, and he likes Rush a lot. I don't know if you guys saw that, but when Neil Peart died, rest in peace, like 3 weeks ago, Will wrote a piece for a magazine or online. It may also have an actual magazine component about Neil Peart. It was the best one I read the whole time, and I read a bunch of tributes to Neil Peart. I thought Will's was the best. You talked a little bit. You went in some different directions with him, specifically about his, I don't know if you'd call it political views. It's more like philosophical views of the world and sociological views. It was pretty cool. Stuff I didn't know about him. I'm not like the world's biggest Neil Peart fan, but I feel like I'm pretty big on him. Yeah? Do you have something you want to say? I do want to give an update on Madison's college search. We had a little bit of a breakthrough the other day.
Yeah, we did.
What's up, Maddie? Do you want to tell them what your breakthrough was?
Yeah. Yesterday, I got an invite to interview for South Alabama's Honors College and Early Med School Acceptance Program.
It's pretty big. South Alabama, huh?
Yeah.
Pretty fired up?
Yeah, I am.
You feel validated?
I do.
Word. It's great to have you. What's that sweatshirt say on it? Uh-oh. She's already wearing a Trancy sweatshirt. Can't believe it. Well, you're doing a hell of a job. Wait, for me or just for you? Oh, okay. Word. No, I don't want to get you sick. Peace. Got any friends watching, Mads? Got any friends watching? Is Gage watching? Word. Give him a shout out. What's up, Gage? Blake D says, congratulations, Maddie. Good luck. AU Taxman says, Mobile is awesome. Lived there for 10 years. Call Me Biscuit says, congrats, Maddie. She's the best. We're just cheering for you. Peace. I don't want to give her the gunk. She's avoided it so far. Chris says he always heard it pronounced Pert, Neil Peart. If that's the way he pronounced it, then I've just been doing it wrong all these years, and I will definitely modify. I will conform, as he would say. I do love me some Neil Peart. Pert, whatever. Because he was awesome. And, some of his lyrics got a little bit, he went a little too far with them. But, man, when he was when he hit him, which to me would be a song like Vital Signs. I really like that song. One of my all-time favorites. When he would hit a home run with his lyrics, man, that was a good one. I was thinking about The Trees earlier today, too. And the song The Trees has so many practical applications for life, doesn't it? There was a thread on a soccer forum that I follow, and they were talking about the Belgian Pro League. So in Belgium, they have a soccer league, and there's like 5 big teams, and then everybody else is like really small. And they're having a hard time getting their TV contract worked out because the 5 big teams think they should have a bigger cut than the smaller 11 because they have the much bigger fan bases and all that stuff. And I keep thinking about the trees. The maples want more sunlight, and the oaks ignore their pleas. And then they're all going to be ruled eventually by hatchet, axe, and saw. That was a good one right there. Let's see. AU Taxman says, according to Wikipedia, Eminem has sold almost 100 million more albums than Metallica. How about that, huh? Damn. Well, Eminem's awesome, too. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, I think. In his own right. And he is certainly an American performer. The pride of Michigan, right? I believe so. I don't know, Maddie said, but so South Alabama gave her, she's got an interview for Honors College, which I reckon she'll get in. And then she's also interviewing for the pre-acceptance medical school there, which is a deal where you can get accepted into, pre-admitted into medical school out of high school, which means if you get that and you maintain a certain GPA at South Alabama, I think it's 3.25, then you get automatic acceptance into their medical school when you graduate undergrad, which would be sweet. That'd be really good. You don't have to, if if you get to the end of your undergrad and you want to go to USA Medical School, I mean, if you want to go there, then you're not going to have to worry about a lot of the other stuff that you would have to worry about if you were trying to go to UAB or wherever else. I think that would be clutch. Let's see. Deezer says, are we calling Jay Lee? I asked Jay Lee about it the other day, and he was like, because Jay Lee, sometimes he's up with the game and sometimes he's not, particularly with signing day having been last week. I am guessing that he is not up with this particular game. So I don't think we're going to call him about that. And also, Nate was on a, how should I put that? He was on a personal journey this weekend. I'll put it that way. He was on a personal journey. So we'll do that. Scott Blank says, let's talk basketball. Hey, we're cool with that. We've been going for 2 hours and 10 minutes. We've had a couple dalliances with basketball, but I would love to do it again. Here's the latest standings in the SEC. This was updated as of about 30 minutes ago. And you can see a three-way tie at the top with Auburn technically towering above the whole crew because they've got wins over Kentucky and LSU already at home. So that's big, big, big. And we've talked before about how this is just incredible that they have gotten this far, this unscathed. And they're really something else. We've talked about how this team compares to some other teams we've seen in the past. This doesn't really compare to any Auburn teams we've seen in the past, but other teams. To me, it's probably most like that Ohio State football team, like Maurice Claret was on. Excuse me, guys. Damn. The team that Maurice Claret was on, and I don't remember the specifics of what year that was, but they just kept, every game was close, and they just kept winning, and you kept thinking they're not going to make it. And the next game they would win it, and the next game they would win it, and they just kept winning by just a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, and they got all the way to the national title game. I think this is the way this team is. They don't really have a superstar. Their numbers, their peripheral numbers, don't look real good. But the bottom line is when the chips are down, they find a way, man. And here they are. We're a little bit past halfway, and they are atop. And at this point, I think we can feel pretty confident in saying not only are they going to make the tournament, but they're competing for a good seed at this point. Let's see what else we can take a look at here. The final box from the game, big game from Samir, 26 on 10 of 19 shooting. Had a slow start, honestly, but definitely picked it up in the second half and was a big part of their push there. Mostly as a spot-up shooter, but also did some of that crazy driving that he does. He just contorts himself and somehow gets the ball up. I don't really know how he does it. It's been good to see him doing more of that lately because when he was at VCU for Will Wade, ironically, he was more of a driver. He would go to the hole and finish or get free throws and hit them. And he was that guy. He was kind of like Chris Denson. And when he was playing with the scout team his first year here when he transferred, that's what he was doing with the scout team. Now, I know scout team work doesn't necessarily mean a lot, but the fact that he was doing that all the time just made me think he was kind of keeping up that was going to be who he was, and he was just kind of keeping up his skills to keep them sharp. So when he came on with the team last year, I thought that's what he would do. I knew he wasn't going to be playing in front of Bryce and Jared, but when he came on, I thought he would be a driver, and he was a spot-up shooter, and he was fairly good. So I looked like an idiot on the bunker when they were like, JG, you said he was going to be a driver. I was like, yeah, I know. I don't understand what happened. Well, here we are now. He's more of a featured role. And he's now a driver mostly. He does some spot-up shooting too, but he's better as a driver, I think. And he did a lot of driving today and did a hell of a job. Only got one. How about that? Only got free throws, 1 of 2 at the line, but he had a few like little contortionist moves, and he's good at that. Javon was insane. Made those huge threes late in the second half, and also was really good. Obviously, got the game-winning basket late when it looked like things were getting pretty dire. Drove down the lane, hit that little teardrop jumper that Miles Simon was so good at Arizona in the late 90s, and got that bad boy in with 1/10 of a second left. And LSU didn't have much of a chance for a retort on that one, so that's a W right there. It's incredible how Javon was kind of rebuilt himself as a downhill driver last year, and now he's a terrific facilitator. I don't really think of him as a three-point shooter, but he hit some big ones today. And 9 assists, 3 turnovers. I think BP will take that all day. Sometimes he has these games where he gets 5, 6, 7 turnovers, but not today. and he was doing a good job of getting into the lane and kicking out for Devin. They had some of those same side three machinations too, where he would kind of curl out right there by the post and kick back out on the same side. He did a great job with that, put the ball right where it needed to be for Devin to kind of load it up and shoot it. Terrific game from him. We've also talked about how Devin was insane off the bench again. 7 of 10 from three-point range, even despite the ugly shot. I think it looks like Clyde Drexler is in the Hall of Fame. He had a weird shot too. And Austin Wiley had the sneakiest double-double you'll ever see. 10 points on 2 of 4 shooting, 13 boards. And we were all just kind of amazed that he was able to play effectively for 30 minutes today. And we looked it up earlier. That is a career high for minutes for him. So that's huge for him. Huge, huge, huge. Scott says, is there any injury to Isaac Okoro? I know he hurt his wrist there. It was kind of a weird injury because there wasn't any obvious contact to it. I mean, I'm not saying he's faking it. He wasn't, but it didn't look too bad. We'll have to see. But he played the rest of the game, and he had that big tomahawk jam. It was a two-hander late in the game, so I'm guessing he's okay. It's probably just going to be sore. Let's see. Call Me Biscuits asking a question that I don't know the answer to. If Kentucky and Auburn split, meaning if Auburn loses at Kentucky and they end up with the same record, who wins the regular season? What is the tiebreaker? I don't know right off. I'll have to get back with you on that. Yeah. And then David P. notes that Kentucky is at LSU on the 18th, and then Kentucky and Florida are in Rupp on February 22nd. Man, that's going to be a tough little one too, isn't it? LSU and Florida back to back. He's hoping Kentucky drops one of those before the Auburn game. Honestly, I think Auburn's better than Kentucky. I do. Kentucky's got some players. There's no doubt. But Ashton Higgins, he has a tendency to fall apart against Auburn. I mean, it's just the way it is. I think it has something to do. It came down to Auburn and Kentucky for him, and I think it just gets in his head or something. I don't know. Looks like Chris M. posted the tiebreaker for tourney seating earlier. I missed that. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry if you guys missed it too. Chris is our guy. He comes through with stuff like that. I mean, if there's some technical stuff that needs to be discussed or got brought up, he's the guy for it. Absolutely. And Paul West, we talked about this earlier as well. He says maybe coaches could teach Wiley to keep his hands above his shoulders on rebounds under the basket. I know, man. Isn't it crazy? This dude is like tall as hell, long arms, gets these boards, and the first thing he does on a stick back is he drops it below his waist. And then these short dudes come in there and swat at it. And either he fumbles it out of bounds or they steal it. Sometimes he gets fouled. He always gets frustrated. Like, just get it and put it back up. Don't have to go down with it. I know BP and before that Chuck Person and all those guys, I know they sat down and told him, dude, don't do that. Just go back up with it. But I think he just can't get it out of his head. Just can't get it out of his head. Colin says, JG, I know he's behind some good ones, but what do you hear on Turbo? The last I heard on Turbo was they're encouraged with the way he's been playing, but they see him as a shooting guard. So, I think going forward, he's going to be a combo. They were hoping he'd be a one, and I think they've abandoned that plan altogether. I think he's going to be a combo, and he's probably going to be a guy that starts being good as maybe in his third year. I just don't, obviously not this year, and I don't know about next year. I don't know about next year. Samir's not going to be here, but you're going to have Sharif. I don't know. Isaac could play there. I don't know. I just don't know if Turbo is going to be like a made-to-play number 2 next year. But I think he's going to end up being a shooting guard. He's going to be, I think they envision him being kind of like Tony Delk, which will be a great outcome for him. But at this point, he's so far behind Samir and Javon in terms of being able to handle the ball under pressure and get the ball to where it needs to be. I don't think he's really a number 1. He wasn't a number 1 in high school. They were hoping he could kind of be one in college, and it just hasn't really come about yet. And they're not disappointed in him. It's just that's not who he was. Maybe they were projecting on him a little bit. But I think he'll be a fine 2 in time. Scott says I need to hit the emergency hard 4 times a day. Can I just hit the Eagle Rare? I'd like to do that. Steve V says you should have to pay Gus royalties each time you say there's no doubt. Oh man, texting with Gus the other day. I know when I text with Gus, like, he's kind of evasive, right? He doesn't want to tell me stuff. And I kind of have to, each time I text him, I got to think about this. Like, okay, is this something that he might tell me now? Or is this something I have no chance for him to ever tell me now? And I mean, I knew about Al, and I was trying to get him to confirm it with me. He just was playing. He's playing whack-a-mole with me, playing a shell game with me. There's no doubt. I wish I could have said, Gus, I know you're going to hire Al. Can you confirm that for me? And have him say, there's no doubt. But he didn't do that. I think he's on a trip with Christy right now, actually. That's where I think he is. He should, man. They've been busting their butt for pretty much every day since, July 25th. I think they're due for some R&R, as the kids say. Let's see, some people think that some black walnut oil might also be helpful. I didn't even know that was a thing. Deezer says on Austin Wiley, didn't his parents teach him that? Yeah, they were both bigs, right? I don't know, man. Sometimes people do weird stuff. You think everybody in the world's told him that. Like, dude, you're super tall. Like, your whole game is being tall. Like, don't drop the ball down, because when you do that, you're not tall anymore. Keith M says Tony Delk, 90s UK references. Yeah, kind of like Anthony Epps too, right? No, I'm just kidding. He's not like Anthony Epps. Tony Delk, man, I was in school back then, and I cussed that guy so many times. He couldn't shoot to save his life in the beginning of his career, and they kept trying to use him as a backup point guard, and it wasn't working, which is basically what Turbo would be doing right now if he had to play. And then he got better and ended up playing in the NBA. But the reason he didn't stay in the NBA is because he didn't really have a position. He was kind of a two-ish, and he was kind of a one-ish, and that's okay. I think Turbo's a better athlete than Tony Delk. Paul suggests that I mix Emergency into my Eagle Rare. I think I might turn my hair light colored. I don't know. Be worried about it. Keith M. asks an interesting question. Did we ever have a shot with Chavis Jackson? Yes. I think he was definitely he's somebody they talked to. He was one of the guys they were talking to as far as filling that other assistant coach spot. I don't think Zach Etheridge was really in it. So it was like Al, and they were talking to man, these names get away from me. Because, like, when I'm texting with these people who know stuff, they don't necessarily give me names. They'll say, like, oh, the guy at Mississippi State, or the guy at Ole Miss, or the guy at LSU, or the guy at Kansas. I think they talked to Terrell Buckley, too, who recently moved from Mississippi State to Ole Miss. I think they talked to him as well. And I think Chavis, is he the guy that's at Kansas now? I mean, I know he was the LSU defensive back, and Kevin coached him at LSU. I can't remember if he's the guy who's actually at Kansas right now or not. Stuff gets away from me a little bit. What happens is I get the intel, and then I got to call Brian and, like, sort it out with him. I'll be like, this dude said the guy at Kansas. Who the hell is that? Oh, yeah. I'll tell you another funny story that's kind of in that same ring. Let's see. Is Cambridge a 4 or a 3? I think in a perfect world, HBZ, Cambridge is a 3. This is back in the days when we were tracking planes, and Auburn was about to hire Al Borges, gorgeous Al Borges. So that would have been, what, 04? Ahead of the 04 season. And so I was at the airport, and I knew they had somebody coming in. I don't remember where it was coming from. Al had been the coach. Shoot, I don't remember where Al had been coaching prior. No, it was Indiana. He was at University of Indiana. And he came in, and I didn't know who it was going to be. I didn't have any intel on who it was going to be. I just knew somebody was coming. So I got there, and Eddie Grand met him at the airport, and he kind of ushered him. It was raining, and he kind of walked him from the Auburn plane, was it N4AU, whatever, to the car. And so I could see him, and I said he looked like Rick Majerus. And so my friend Josh Moon, who was back at the office, he said, so what does the guy look like? I said, he looks like Rick Majerus. Can you figure out any coaches that look like Rick Majerus? And somehow or another, Baggy called me back in like 2 or 3 minutes. He goes, it must be Al Borges from Indiana. He looks just like Rick Majerus. And I said, all right, we got ourselves a scoop. And we ended up writing it. Yeah. It was like Auburn met with Al Borges, Indiana coordinator Al Borges. And it was because he looked like Rick Majerus. That's how it takes. Colin said Hugh took Al to Byron's, if I recall. I think you're right. I think I saw him again out there. Yeah. Wait, hold on. No, Al took him to, it wasn't Byron's at the time. It was that restaurant out there on College. It was like a catfish place. It changes like every couple years. It's like a new place. If you guys have been on College Street lately, it's the restaurant where they have that huge Tuberville sign. It's right there. I don't remember what it's called. I mean, they probably went to Byron's too, but at the night that I was following them around, they ended up going to that catfish place. Keith M. said he thought it was San Jose State. No, Al went from Auburn to San Jose State, or he ended up at San Jose State. And I think his wife, Nikki, I think she still works out there, right? I liked Al. Golden Rule. That may have been what it was. I think it was a fish place at the time, Devin, but it's the same spot. Yeah. That's where it was. Deezer says, I think you did enough today, JG. Get some rest. Are you telling me I need to get the hell off the air? I'll do it. I mean, that's fine. Oh, man, the old days, huh? Used to follow planes around and stuff like that. Can't do that anymore. Auburn ended up blocking their plane. And then this was back when I was at the newspaper. I tried to get our lawyer to like file suit against Auburn, and all I wanted was an injunction to open that up again, because that just seems crazy to me that like that is taxpayer money, and I'm not arguing about it. I mean, it's a legitimate use. I'm just saying it's taxpayer money funding these flights. They should be available to be tracked. And one thing led to another, and F. Lee Bailey was like, "Nope, can't do it, bro. You're just shit out of luck." And I was like, "Damn." I still think that's wrong. Anyway, miss old Al. I liked Al Borges. I did. He's a pretty cool guy. He's another example of somebody who I like their wife more, though. I like Nikki better. But Al was cool. Just kind of like with Gus. I like Christy better, but that's cool. And as I mentioned real early in the show, we were talking about Booby. He's kind of a softie. Like, Gus is kind of a softie. He has this reputation on the bunker as like this robot, and I totally get it, man. He does some robotic stuff at certain times of the year. It's like when he gets into season mode, he gets real, don't bother me, I got stuff to do. But like in the rest of the year, he's kind of a softie on kids, man. Like with Booby, I think everybody was ready to go on Booby, and he was the last one to go for it. I mean, it was like everybody else had to come to him and be like, this is not going to work. And he kept thinking to himself, we're going to get this kid straightened out. He's going to click. We're going to get him going because he's not going to waste this opportunity. And then finally, it was like Gus was like, nah, it's not working, TD says F. Lee Bailey was the Freedom of Info guy for the advertiser. I just said that his name was something like that. I think his actual name was Dennis Bailey. But me and Baggy would always call him F. Lee Bailey as a joke. Because F. Lee Bailey was the guy, I think he was on OJ's defense team. And he was a big celebrity lawyer, and so we just call him F. Lee Bailey. His real name was Dennis Bailey, I think. And I hated the way he just quit on me. He was like, no, I can't do it. I'm like, what do you mean you can't do it? I mean, we can at least try. You can go to a judge and ask for an injunction. I can do that. You can do that. Come on. And he was like, nah, I'm not. It's like, what are we paying you for? Why are we paying you? That's stuff I wouldn't do today, I guess. I just don't belong in newspapers anymore. I'm glad I don't do it anymore. It's like these little fights like this. They're like at Auburn Sports, don't care. Like, if I was at Auburn Sports back then, I wouldn't have cared either, because I would have just gotten the information anyway. Like, we're in a situation where coaches and other people around the program tend to work with us because we're not. The subscribers at auburnsports.com are not paying for me to mess with the program. I know my place. We know our place. At the advertiser, like, they teach you to kind of attack. You're supposed to be not necessarily attack, but you should be ready to attack if you need to. And that's not what we do here. TD got a little confused by that. I should have explained that before. That's my fault. We always just called him F. Lee Bailey as a joke. So, yeah, I understand why you were confused. I didn't do a good job with it. Call Me Biscuit says, probably shouldn't mention that injunction story because Christy and Gus listening on vacation weekend. Can you imagine Gus listening to this on vacation weekend? Like, hey, Christy, Twitter says JG's on the show. You gonna listen to that? And she'd be like, no. She knows that I'm in trouble though. Christy, she knows me and Jay Lee are trouble. She's always like, Jay Lee, JG. At least she's cool like that though. All right, so we'll probably wrap it up. I mean, I know I've been going a long time. Appreciate you guys, of course, being part of the show. I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody here. H. Beansy says Al loved in some Outback. Well, doesn't everybody love Outback? Except Aaron Sipos? Did you see Gus's answer about Aaron Sipos the other day? He was like, we weren't expecting that, no. I was like, oh my God, something that you weren't expecting. How about that? He's like, we got to play. He said, this would be a great line for my wife someday. He said, we've got a plan. I just don't want to tell you what it is right now. I'm like, if you've got a secret plan for a punter, like, I can't wait to hear this. We're going to have to write a book about this one. It's like a tale of espionage as old as time. We had to go to Iraq to find us a special punter, and we couldn't tell you guys because he was punting in the Iraqi second league, and he was so good. He was so good. I saw the video on him. It was unbelievable. I'm like, Gus, it's a punter, man. Maybe it'll be Bo. I don't know. It'd be cool if it was Bo. We're talking about that on the bunk the other day. Could Bo do it? Hell yeah, Bo could do it. Of course he can. Bo can do anything. He could be like a modern day Tom Tupa. Played at Ohio State. He was a punter and a quarterback, and then he actually made it in the NFL as a punter. Charter N says, I hate it when people talk about how they have not been drinking lately. Well, I wouldn't say that because I was drinking like 20 minutes ago. AU Taxman says, Gus going to the no punt offense. We've mentioned that to him before. Kevin Kelly, who was the coach at Pulaski Academy in Arkansas, is like one of his really good friends. And we were like, I think Brandon might have been the one to ask him about, would you ever do that? And Gus like, no, we'll leave that to Kevin. Like, any out of the box thinking, Gus is like, no, we don't want to do that. No. Caddy Wumpus jumps in again. Second consecutive show with a super chat. Thank you, sir. Or ma'am. Thanks for the show. Bottoms up. Yeah, my bottom's already up. I really didn't want to drink today, but I felt like I had to. Blake D says, we appreciate you, JGT, in this epic long show. Always great. Peace and love to all. War Damn Eagle. Auburn basketball is alive and well. Man, isn't that great? Blake D is always so, like, positive, and I love that. Appreciate you, man. Chris M says, Gus going full, never punt, always offside, always go for two. That offside thing gets me, man. I'm going to start crying. It's so funny. Oh, man. I mean, it was like one of my favorite things to rag on him for. Just run these stupid. He would run those dumb shifts, and he would get called for illegal procedure. And he would get so mad, and I would be like, but now I can't laugh anymore because he tricked Alabama with that. He got Alabama in the Iron Bowl with one of those little tricks, and so I can't make fun of him for it anymore, ever again. But you know what I'm talking about, Chris. We would do all those shifts, and then somebody would get an illegal procedure, and Gus would lose his mind, and it's like, it's as clear as day. This is illegal. Why are you upset? All right. Anyway, I'm sorry. Thank you for that. That was great. Carter says, I prefer when people say this is what I'm doing now because I'm not able to control it. Jeez, man, you're getting deep with me now. I mean, we just kind of drink bourbon on the show. That's all. I'm totally sober right now. I promise you. I've only had like 3 ounces. We've been on the air for 2.5 hours. Call Me Biscuit says the secret, Gus's secret punter probably is another Colquitt descendant out there who punts. That's good stuff. Cleve C says, JGT, enjoyed the Brain Drain show today. As always, great host. War Damn Eagle, appreciate you. And Blake D says, my dad used to say cattywampus all the time. What a great combo. Cattywampus. And Call Me Biscuit says 21-2, unbelievable. It is pretty amazing, guys. All right, we'll wrap it up. I think this is our longest basketball show. I can't believe it. I cannot believe we actually went this long. I can't believe you guys are still with me. Yeah. Chris M says 50% of the time this shift works all the time. It's like Sex Panther, isn't it? Definitely before I go, though, I got to give shout-outs to all of our awesome super chatters, and we have had numerous super chatters today. Let me get that up. This is very important to me. We started off with a home run right off with a grand slam. Bases loaded grand slam. Right off the bat with Why Not AU with a huge super chat to start with. Also Brad E. Oh, you might know him as Easterwood on the bunker. Ruxpin jumped in early. Fat Crack, BMAC 34420. 34420, I should say. AU Taxman. Salus had a bunch of them. And one of them asked me to speak like a pirate because it meant a lot to him or her. Sparrow Empire had a bunch. Ben B had a bunch. Nick, my man Nick S. We need to get together and drink a little bit here before too long. Here we go again, right? Lewis jumped in earlier. One of our great football chatters who is just kind of now coming over to basketball. Collins M. Canoe Man. Call Me Biscuit had a bunch. Appreciate you. Matthew D. David P. Stu Pup as always. Cleve C with a big daddy. I would have given you a good shout out there, Cleve. I think you might be gone now, but appreciate you. Ben B again. Deezer13, who was one of our big super chatters. You've been with us a long time too. Thank you so much. Payne HJ, you know who you are. Thank you. Corny jumps in live from the West Coast. Well, I should say you might be in the Mountain Time Zone, wherever. Points West. We'll leave it at that. Corny Mofo in the house. Chazzy D, DFY again. Spotter Emeritus. Everyone's all-American spotter. You know who you are. Jeff C. And Caddy Wampus. Man, that reads like a Hall of Fame group right there, man. Some of my favorite folks. So appreciate you guys. Wayne says JGT is now known as the testy-eyed truth teller. Keith M says, awesome job as always, JG. Awesome job by y'all. You too, Keith. You had me laughing as well. Hopefully, when we do our next show midweek, I will definitely be back to 100% by then because I thought I would be by now, and I'm not. But anyway, you guys are making me feel great, though, for reals. And Corny says he's in the PST Vegas, baby. I knew you were out there. I wasn't going to say where you exactly were because you never know. People are weird sometimes. All right, guys, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you, of course, to all our super chatters and all of our regular chatters who were there all day long, chatting and making it fun. And, of course, to BP, whose awesome leadership and recruiting and coaching has made it possible for us to have these kinds of shows because people care enough to be part of them. It's weird to think that there was a time when I gave these games away to an intern and didn't even care, really, if he did a good job or not. Like, I would just kind of edit the stories, but nobody was paying attention during the Barbie era, and I wasn't really going to worry about it. Now we spend – there's times when we have 3 people at Bruce's teleconferences and talking to coaches and whatnot at practice, so it's a lot different, and I'm happy. I like basketball. I know you guys are fired up too. Anyway, guys, until we see you again midweek, let's make great decisions out there, particularly you young folks tonight when you're out there celebrating this 21-2 start for the Auburn Tigers. And for those young men out there, let's make good decisions for y'all too, okay? And the ladies, but men too. Until I see you again, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. See you guys.